need you to ask Rita, does she tune out at 9 or does she stay listening?
I'm going to ask Rita that.
And tell her I said hello.
I'm wearing dodgy clothes today because this is radio. So you're on front of camera and stuff. And
so should you be. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
I know, could you lend me that shirt? I go and see Rita
I
in
don't
style.
think you get into it.
I do. Yeah, it could be a bit tight for me.
Could be a bit tight.
All right, good show.
Anyway, say hello to Rita for us.
I will do.
All right, okay. That should be nice. Well done to you, Lee. All right, take care. It is 9 o'clock. Time for news update. Let's get over to the newsroom and say good morning now to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 teenaged girls aged 16 and 17 have died after a road crash in County Monaghan, which happened while they were on their way to a school prom. An 18-year-old girl and a man in his 60s who was driving the car are fighting for life in hospital, while an 18-year-old boy is being treated for less serious injuries. The single vehicle collision happened on the N54 in Legnakelly on the Clonus to Smithborough Road just before 7 o'clock last night. The event was cancelled after the news of the tragedy emerged, and the local youth club in Clonus remained open until late last night to offer support to other students. The EPA's latest report shows the quality of drinking water is extremely high, but almost 500,000 people are still being served by at-risk supplies. These include 3,518 in the Glenties Ardra area, 2,266 in Lettermack Ward, and 2,560 in Milford. Meanwhile, nationally, 182,000 people were affected by boil water notices last year. In Donegal, Ross has had an 8-day boil water notice for failure at the water treatment plant, while the people of Lettermack Ward had a notice in effect for 2 months of last year. A boil water notice was issued again for the area yesterday. The development of a Peace Plus local community action plan for Donegal is a step closer after Donegal County Council confirmed this week it's now moving on to stage 3 of the process. It will involve further public consultation before the final plan is finalised and submitted by December. Donald Kavanagh has more.
The Donegal County Council says the plan, informed by a local community engagement process, will enable and empower communities to assist in the development of priority projects and programmes that the Council will submit under the Peace Plus programme. This, the Council says, will result in shared and inclusive local services, facilities and spaces and make a significant and lasting contribution to peace and reconciliation. Stages 1 and 2 of the consultation process are now complete. An indicative report has been published. The Council is now embarking on a final series of public consultation events before an application is submitted to the special EU programmes body by the 14th of December. A number of Zoom meetings will take place over the next fortnight, along with face-to-face sessions in Donegal Town, Dungloe, Letterkenny, Carndonagh and Stranraer. More details and links on our website, highlandradio.com.
Raising the minimum wage would see household expenses go up too. The Irish Small and Medium Enterprise Association is warning the proposed increase of 12.4% to the minimum wage is unsustainable. They say it will lead to a 2.5% rise in the price of grocery. CEO of the ISME, Neil MacDonald, explains how.
Depending on store size, the cost of the labour input to your grocery bill is somewhere between 8% in, the large discounters, up to 20% for very small convenience or corner stores. So you factor that into a 12.4% increase in the national minimum wage.
Moving to weather, largely dry and bright to start with a few lingering showers, highest temperatures of 17 to 19 degrees with a light to moderate westerly breeze, gradually backing southeasterly. That's all for now. I'll be back with the next news update at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Apply online for learner permit and driving licence services, including renewals, updates, exchanges and replacements. It's easy and hassle-free. Visit NDLS online today at ndls.rsa.ie. Verified MyGov ID required. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 Til Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 Til Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. Just approaching 4 minutes past 9 on Tuesday, the 1st of August 2023. We're into another month. Some would say we're into autumn. I'm not having any of it, though. We still have our summer to come. I'm absolutely sure of it. Just like I was sure there'd be a high-scoring game yesterday between Ireland and Nigeria. As it turns out, Oshie was spot on. Well, not far off it anyway. A goalless draw. Anyway, coming up on the programme today, we don't want you to go anywhere. Of course, just after 10, we've got Community Garda Information, where you hear first the latest news and appeals from An Garda Síochána here in Donegal. And then after 11, we continue the tradition of welcoming the contestants for the Mary from Dungloe competition into Studio 13, I believe it is, this year, taking part. And all 13, all being well, will be joining us a little later on in the show for a quick chat. So make sure you're watching, make sure you're listening, and make sure you're involved in the conversation. 086 60 25,000. That's your WhatsApps and texts. 086 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. And for both numbers, if you're outside the Republic, drop the first 00353, and away you go then. Emails from wherever you are, comments at highlandradio.com. The fronts of the papers today, inside some of them too, of course, the Donegal Democrat. The HSE has responded to a recently published HICWA report which raised a number of safety issues in relation to Donegal Community Hospital. The facility in Donegal Town was the subject of an unannounced inspection by the Health Information and Quality Authority on March 29th. A report published on July 25th outlined non-compliance in a number of areas, including fire safety, infection control and residents' rights. A statement was subsequently issued by the HSE's Community Health Care, Cavan, Donegal, Leitrim, Monaghan, Sligo division. You can read it inside the paper today. On to the Irish Independent. A six-figure sum of cash was found hidden when Gardaí searched the home of a man who had committed 2 gruesome murders in the space of 2 days last year, the Irish Independent reveals today. Yesterday at the Central Criminal Court, Yusuf Palini, 23, of Markovich Heights in Sligo, pleaded guilty to the murder of Aidan Moffat at Cartron Heights in Sligo on April 10th, 2022. He also pleaded guilty to the murder of Michael Snee at City View, Connaughton Road, Sligo, 2 days later. Palani further pleaded guilty to causing serious harm to Anthony Burke in Sligo, also on April 9th, 2022. The large amount of cash seized by Gardaí during the search of Palani's home is the subject of an ongoing Criminal Assets Bureau investigation, but sources said it's not suspected to have originated from criminality. The origin of that money has not yet been fully determined, a source said last night. And that was a trial that was due to begin in a month or two. He was taken to court to plead. He'd changed his counsel, I believe, and will be sentenced in October, if I'm not mistaken. On to the Irish Times. I'm not sure if you've been following the story and the developments as it relates to the National Party. They are right-leaning, if not right, sort of right, far-right party. That's not what they say of themselves, though. And they haven't had anyone elected yet, either a councillor or a TD. But they did have in the reserves €400,000 worth of gold. Now, I don't know who owns that gold. Is it the party's gold? Is it the party's leader? I don't know. They don't know either, but it's the subject of a Garda investigation, I'm sure. But anyway, on from that then, there's been a bit of a coup in the party in that a couple of others in the party have said that its former leader or current leader, depending who you listen to, Mr. Barrett, has been ousted. He says he's not been ousted at all. It's his party. But anyway, the Standards in Public Office Commission has pledged to investigate concerns raised about some €400,000 in gold bars stored in the vaults belonging to the National Party. The latest development comes after the party's president, Justin Barrett, was ousted from his position, only for him to later deny this had happened. The right-wing party said in a statement that Mr. Barrett was removed from his post in mid-July before claims emerged that the gold bars had been removed from a party vault due to an overwhelming lack of confidence from active party members in his continued ability to lead the party. Mr. Barrett denied that he had been removed and said that it was not possible to do so under party rules. Meanwhile, Fine Gael councillor Emma Blaine has written to SIPO asking them to investigate the source of the funding, urging the watchdog to appoint a public auditor, given that the National Party has never submitted accounts to SIPO. And then, of course, is the gold the party's? Does some of the gold belong to Mr. Barrett? How's that all divvied up and separated? It remains to be seen. It's going to be an interesting one. That's probably going to end up in the courts and be quite the trial that will gather an awful lot of attention. The tragic news that we all learned of last evening and woke up to this morning is covered in the Irish Daily Mail today. Tragedy has engulfed a small town after 2 teenaged girls died in a horrific road traffic collision yesterday as a group were on the way to a secondary school's Debs ball. 3 others in the vehicle, a boy and a girl both aged 18, and the driver, a man aged 60, were taken to hospital. The girl and the driver were said to be in a critical condition last night. The girls who died in the crash were aged 16 and 17. It is understood that all 5 people were travelling in the same vehicle. Sinn Féin TD for Cavan Monaghan, Matt Carthy, said last night, horrendous, heart-wrenching news coming from Clonus this evening. And it is just beyond words, isn't it? Young people on a night out or heading on a night out at the end of their schooling, isn't it? And for this to happen and just what the parents and wider family must be going through, it is absolutely horrendous. So what can you say beyond that? Nothing else really. There's just simply no words. In other news in the papers today, Donald Trump, you may not hear of him as much as you once did, but he hasn't gone away, and he's certainly still remaining incredibly popular amongst certain Republicans, at least. In America, Donald Trump is trouncing his Republican rivals, a new poll shows. He's the clear favourite to get to the get. I don't understand why people don't read these before they publish it, though I can be guilty of that myself. He's the clear favourite to get the party's nomination to run for US president. It means the 2024 poll is likely to be a rerun of the last election, with ex-President Trump, 77, taking on current President Joe Biden, who is 80. There's an awful amount of people involved in the very high levels of politics that are late 70s and into their 80s. And I'm not being ageist and saying there's anything wrong with that, but it is notable. Don leads nearest challenger Ron DeSantis by 37 points. The New York Times Siena College poll revealed yesterday. And back in the day, you would have thought, right, he needs a controversy here. Something needs to come out about Donald Trump for DeSantis to close this gap. It's the only way. And some dirt would be dug up, and maybe then there would be a shock at the polls. But it doesn't work like that anymore, because the more that comes out about Donald Trump, or the more that accusations levelled at him, or the more he's questioned or charged or whatever it might be, the more popular he gets. So he cannot be unseated by scandal. It only makes him more powerful and more strong, it seems. So that'll be interesting. Well, the Irish Daily Mirror this morning, young adults who have suffered sexual violence are more likely to tell a friend than a relative, figures showed yesterday, which doesn't really surprise me. 2/3 of people aged 18 to 24 who were attacked confided in a pal first, compared with 13% who told a family member, the CSO revealed, and 36% of women who did not disclose any experience of sexual violence as an adult kept it secret because they felt ashamed or embarrassed. And that is something we're really, as a society, going to have to work on, that people are bottling this stuff up for fear of what others might think of them. More than twice the rate for men, 15%. The CSO's sexual violence survey also found that most people who suffered sex abuse as a child or adult do not disclose it to the authorities. We're going to be speaking about those findings a little later on in the programme as well, because they are food for thought. The Star, now, an anxiety-ridden gangster, as he's described, who had risen to be one of the top drugs bosses in the country, has been jailed for 11 years. Now, we talk about how drugs are all over the place now. It's easy to get a pizza and all that type of stuff. Well, the reason that is the case is because we have people who are bringing them into the region. They have distribution models and what have you. Well, this guy seemingly was quite prolific in drugs in terms of the West and Northwest. Barry Young, 38, received his sentence yesterday at the Special Criminal Court after he pleaded guilty to directing a crime gang between October 4th, 2019 and January 15, 2022. Mr. Justice Tony Hunt said that the thugs' activities, in which he oversaw a 20-strong mob, had been a significant scourge of the people of Sligo. The judge made the point that Young's drugs mob was smaller in scope, size and geography than others he'd seen before the courts in recent years. He said that the violence used by them did not reach the levels of others either, and it was Young's group that was answerable to others, and they would get, when needed, enforcers to travel up from the capital to organisations they were involved in down there. But anyway, he's been locked up now for 11 years. Okay, let us take a quick break. Back with our first guest shortly.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
Curtains at Foy & Company, Letterkenny. Complete any room with our elegant and exquisite range of curtains designed to elevate your windows with sheer beauty. Whether you prefer classic patterns or contemporary designs, our curtain collection offers endless possibilities to complement your interior decor. Let our expert staff assist you in creating the living space you've always dreamed of. Call in and get a free interior design consultation this month at Foy & Company, Letterkenny.
Imagine a dream wedding on a lake, all-day casual dining by a magical shore, fine dining or glorious afternoon tea surrounded by beautiful mountains, or a fabulous bar filled with music, laughter and song. Imagine no more. Harvey's Point, Loch Esk, Donegal, 07497222208 or harveyspoint.com. Close by, but a different world.
The Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are on the road once again. Tune in this Wednesday at 2:30 for the Jive Time Show with David James, and Friday morning for Greg Hughes and the 9 Till Noon Show, with both shows live from the heart of the 56th Mary from Dungloe International Festival to celebrate their fun-filled programme of events. Check out the full lineup on maryfromdunloe.ie. Brought to you in association with Kavanagh's SuperValue Dungloe.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
9:15. All political parties are being called on to make a public commitment not to misuse AI, that's artificial intelligence, in the general election campaigns. It comes as government is establishing an independent advisory council to provide expert advice to government on AI policy. Fianna Fáil Senator Malcolm Byrne claims the technology is one of the biggest challenges of our democracy. And he joins me on the programme now. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to your listeners.
OK, so how do you see this as one of the biggest challenges to our democracy, or of our democracy?
Well, artificial intelligence and indeed its convergence with other emerging technologies is impacting and will impact on virtually every area of our lives. And a lot of it will be in a very positive way. So AI is being used in healthcare at the moment as a faster and more effective way, for instance, to identify tumours and other possible problems, including cancer. So in those sort of areas, AI can definitely be used for good. And in terms of how you process large volumes of data, AI can be helpful. But AI can also be misused. And one of the concerns that I would have is in our democracy, how it may be misused to spread misinformation and disinformation. We know that technology has had the impact on referenda and elections already in a negative way. There's a well-documented story about how data used by Cambridge Analytica influenced the Brexit referendum in the UK. We've seen, for instance, how US elections, that there are efforts by outside parties, notably from Russia, to try to influence them. And the difference that artificial intelligence can make is it can turbocharge some of that misinformation and disinformation.
But Senator, can I say, for an example, just using, and I get exactly where you're coming from, but just say using the Brexit campaign as an example, the biggest threats to sort of misinformation, or in terms of spreading misinformation, weren't artificial intelligence or robots. It was Boris Johnson with his big red bus, and it was Nigel Farage who was planning the sun and the moon and the stars. So the main threat in terms of misinformation seems to come from real people. Just to use your examples for an example.
Yeah, it does. But where we're going with this, and one of the concerns that I have this very significant fear about, is around what are called deep fakes. And what deep fakes are these are false but realistic images of videos or people or events that are designed by artificial intelligence. So what you could see during the course of an election campaign is one of our political leaders, a deep fake would be created using their image, their voice, for them to say something in which they wouldn't believe. And the difficulty then is that, citizens will look at this, they will believe it because they're seeing it, they'll share it widely on social media, and by the time the political leader gets the opportunity to correct that, the damage could be done. And if people, some people think this is very futuristic, but AI technology has developed to such an extent, Greg, that it could now listen to your voice for just a matter of seconds. It would pick up the tone and timbre of your voice, and it would be able to generate sounds that people would believe.
And if the truth be told, Malcolm, many people listening to this programme have already been exposed to that and may not realise it. There's a couple circulating, particularly on Facebook. There's one including a Sky News presenter and a very famous YouTuber, Mr. Beast, where it is trying to get people to invest in a certain game or what have you. And his name escapes me now, the consumer advice guy, Martin something or other in Britain. Already he has been cloned using AI to try and get people involved in scams. So people listening, and this is why perhaps it's worrying technology, a lot of people listening have already actually been exposed to deep fake scams without even realising it. Just to underline your point that this is already here and it's really quite easily done because it's a computer that does it. It doesn't require a great deal of human intervention.
No, and I mean, there have been examples in the US and Canada of bank fraud being committed, using voice activation technology. So your listeners will think about during the course of an election campaign, they're looking at something on social media, a video comes up of a political leader, and he or she is saying something, and they're kind of going, oh, that sounds pretty outrageous, or that's not something I agree with. Without even thinking, a lot of people will just decide to share that. And very quickly, right across social media, you will have a deep fake that will be widely shared, even though it completely misrepresents.
And the original false claim or false statement will be seen 1 million times, and the clarification might be seen 50,000 times, and therein lies the rub. But how do you deal with this? I've tried to think. I've even thought about maybe whereby pre-approved messages or something along those lines, but still that could be duplicated or replicated. So you've recognised the problem. It is going to happen, but how do you counteract it? It's important because everyone's putting up stuff, right? So it's going to be very difficult to see the woods for the trees.
So there's a number of things I think that we need to do. I think, first of all, for all of us, myself included, but, for all your listeners, in a sense, we need to become more digitally and media literate. So before you go to post or repost something on social media, ask yourself, where is this coming from? Who's posted this in the first place? Why are they posting it? What's the rationale behind it? So we've got to be a lot more questioning of what we see on social media and the rationale behind it. I think there are technological solutions, although they're not ideal, which include things like watermarks and so on, and where if something is AI-generated content, that has to be declared on the content that the viewer is seeing. There are, unfortunately, still some ways around that, but I think the technology is catching up to allow that. There's a very important role for the new Electoral Commission. The government has set up, this is the first time we've a completely independent Electoral Commission that's overseeing our elections. It will have a role, yes, on the administration side, but it has to protect the integrity of the democratic process. We're very fortunate to live in a democracy, but that can be challenged and threatened. And, what we are going to see is we're going to see efforts to influence our elections and referenda from outside the state. It's going to have to try to protect against that. And also we've got to try to ensure that, this commission has got to try to ensure that the rules put in place around content that can be posted on social media. I think also, and this is something I think it's important for all of our political parties, is that we sign a pledge not to misuse artificial information. That what political parties won't do is use deep fakes of their opponents. So whatever about dealing with the issues and debating the issues, not to be spreading misinformation and disinformation, creating deep fakes, set out to damage somebody.
But just back to my point about real politicians, it's really important, though, that the public can have faith in what their politicians and the civil service are saying to be true as well, isn't it? Because we can talk about the spreading of mis and disinformation and using tools like artificial intelligence and what have you. But, there are examples, recent examples that affect us here in Donegal, where something is said in public by a human person that is demonstrably untrue. Or at least, misinformation or misleading. So I think do you think politicians have to be more careful, and those who speak on their behalf, as to what they say? Because I think it just opens the gates for people to say, well, if you are saying whatever you like, well, what's the big deal in us making deep fake saying whatever we like?
Well, I suppose the difference there is, if you like, if a politician says something that is untrue, they are actually saying it. And, journalists like yourself can hold them to account. Voters can hold them to account. The difference with the deep fake is that somebody is, if you like, putting words into somebody else's mouth. It's getting them to say something that they've never actually said. And that's completely distorting the truth. If somebody says something that is blatantly false, at least you have a way of holding them to account to it.
And also, just finally, Malcolm, is part of this as well the world we are in at the moment? And to some extent, there are certain ideologies, certain political views that are taking hold now, that we are seeing growing in popularity because it resonates with the public. Are you also somewhat concerned as to what impact AI might have in amplifying those voices and the threat it might have to the establishment? Because some might say, well, you're probably, or maybe you're afraid that, people with a different political view to yours might be able to use all the tools available to them and gain traction.
Well, I don't. I mean, I think that the importance of a democracy is that we allow a variety of political views to be expressed, and it allows us as people to choose who it is that represents us. But democracy is very fragile, and we have seen, and we're seeing it right across Europe again, the rise of the extremes on the far left and on the far right. We know from history that they do pose challenges to democracy. There is no problem with somebody who, puts forward those views in a very democratic way. But when they don't then accept the democratic processes, that certainly causes a problem. And we've seen, certainly through the use of social media, that has led to an increased polarization of politics. For me, compromise is not a dirty word. Politics is about being able to work with people to be able to gain solutions. Unfortunately, social media has now driven an increased polarization, but people are going to the extremes. They're not willing to compromise.
Do you think, though, Malcolm, finally, though, but do you think, like I just feel that as long as we don't end up with a race to the bottom, and notwithstanding everything you've said, and I accept everything you say about AI, but just general public discourse, in that, it's very, you don't hear debates anymore on radio or media because politicians won't make themselves available. It's very rare that you might get the health minister debating with an opposition health minister. We have a situation now whereby even the leader of the country, Micheál Martin, is creating his own podcast. He's not necessarily, I can't have access to him to have a conversation and a debate about serious issues, but he's producing his own content now that's not held to account. There's no fact checking. I'm not saying for a second, by the way, that he's saying anything that's untrue, but it's just publishing stuff. Do you know what I mean? Why are people afraid to engage in debate and conversation any longer? I'm really quite worried the way things are going, and the fact that the establishment seems to be sort of easing into that area itself. Do you share any of my concerns? Do you understand what I'm saying there, I wonder, if I'm making myself clear?
I do. Yeah, I do. I suppose it speaks to a broader question about the changing media landscape, Greg, that if you like, historically, people would have always got their news just from, RT or from national news channels or from local radio or from national or local newspapers. But in the new digital environment, there are a whole variety of ways in which people can get news and information. If you look at, and all the surveys are showing this, for a lot of people under the age of 40, they don't buy traditional newspapers, whether national or local newspapers. And that's why a lot of newspapers, have been moving online and increasing their digital offering, because that's where increasingly young people get their news. So in terms of how information, is disseminated, it's across.
Yeah, but that means that young people are getting party political broadcasts. They're not getting debate and conversation and issues being teased out. And maybe you might win on one topic and lose on another. If that's the case, if that's how we're going to reach the under 40s by just publishing stuff, and that's what the main political parties are doing, I don't see how that's helpful.
I would disagree. I mean, I think debate is healthy. I can only speak obviously for myself. I'm always happy to come on and debate an issue. I think it's important, so long as it's evidence based. I mean, one of the problems that we have with elements of social media now is that you can debate where we agree. You and I may disagree on an issue, but we agree on a common set of facts, and our solutions can be different. One of the difficulties is if you're, at the extremes of social media now, is people don't even accept the basic facts. I think there is still a very valid place for debate in Irish society. I'm glad to see there's a new format, for instance, for the McGill Summer School coming up in Donegal. You still see, there is still debate that happens on TV and radio. I certainly believe that politicians should engage in respectful and healthy debate.
But if you listen, I presume you listen to Morning Ireland, I presume, Senator, to stay across what's happening, don't you? Do you not find it a little bit strange that, and I don't know, there's a minister available every morning, but there is not really robust questioning of the minister. And then if you're a listener, you're thinking, well, is that what the price of access to a minister every morning is that you don't challenge them?
I don't necessarily. I mean,
And when the shoe's on the other foot, by the way, when the shoe's on the other foot, Senator, do you know, when it's not about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Let's just say next time it's Sinn Féin and whatever. Say the same. What appears to be arrangement is in place. That's not healthy. That's not positive.
Well, I can't. I've certainly heard, on Morning Ireland. I've heard on local radio. I've heard on national radio. Tough debates happening. I mean, that's obviously up to the journalists concerned. I think you can be tough and respectful at the same time. And I think there's certainly some interviewers on local and national radio who are maybe better at it than others. I mean, one of the things I actually find frustrating, Greg, now that we're talking about this, is you listen to some people particularly on national radio, and they don't let the person that they're questioning answer. The person has started to answer the question, and they interrupt the whole time. I actually think it's much better, put the tough question, let the person answer, and then come back with another.
But Senator, you're experienced to know, though, that part of media training is, if you don't like the question, is to keep talking without actually answering the question. But listen, I don't want to speak over you, and we could back and forwards this all day. But you did, but you also know the situation as well. All right, listen, I know we started with AI. I appreciate your comments on the rest of it. Senator Malcolm Byrne of Fianna Fáil. Have a lovely day. Thanks for your time.
You too. Thanks, Greg. Bye-bye.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €70 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Women's clothing in new styles and colours from Adidas and Under Armour. Own the Run range or try the training essentials. Jackets, crew sweats with matching tees, shorts and tights. Match it up with a pair of On trainers. New range just arrived. Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. Click on bmcsports.ie and get your free delivery.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently have a vacancy for a welcome advisor. The successful applicant will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland, Letterkenny, or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
We're joined on the programme now by Mark Murphy, who's Advocacy Manager with the Irish Heart Foundation. Good morning to you, Mark.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. Now, some research has been carried out which shows the majority, 2/3 of the Irish public, want the government to ban the sale of disposable vapes. And this is obviously, we've also heard recently disposable vapes being included in the IBAL survey. I mean, so there's a health impact, there's also a litter impact. They're calling for their sale to be banned as well. So, what was the context of this research, Mark, and what questions were asked?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. Effectively, at the moment, the government are running a public consultation on whether to ban disposable vapes or not. And as part of that, we've been campaigning to ban disposable vapes, both for the youth health side of it, but also the environmental health side of it. So we commissioned Ipsos MRBI to go out with a very simple question to just over 1,000 adults aged 15 and older across Ireland, national representatives. Simple question of, are you in favour of banning disposable vapes? Yes, no, or unsure. And 64%, so nearly 2/3 of the Irish public wanted to ban these single-use vapes. And if we look across every single age group, whether it was young people, elderly people, every age group wanted to ban disposable vapes. Even amongst the 15 to 24-year-olds, where our concern would be is young people vaping, 57%, so nearly 6 in 10 young people want to ban disposable vapes. So that's where we've been campaigning for ban disposable vapes, because we know there's a huge environmental health impact with them, but there's also a huge youth health impact as well, because teenagers, adolescents should not be vaping at all, but it's just these disposable vapes are hugely popular with them and are really appealing to them. So that's why we've been campaigning for them.
Yeah, they are. And do teens know what's in them? You know, the nicotine content. I mean, I've heard stories, numerous stories, like this is not one or two, but over the years, you know, people ended up with an addiction that's costing 50, 60, 70 euro a week. Such is the hold that these products have on particularly our young people. We'll focus on them for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely, because most e-cigarettes would contain nicotine and it would have a regulated amount of nicotine. But recently there's been reports of some disposable vapes on the market breaching the nicotine level. So, and we know with young people, nicotine already is a hugely addictive substance. But the younger you use nicotine, the younger you smoke, the younger you vape, the more addictive it can be. And nicotine can have a hugely harmful effect on the development of adolescent brain. So there is a huge youth health impact there as well. So that's why we seem to deter young people from using nicotine, from smoking, from vaping as long as possible. Because the longer you delay ever smoking or vaping or using nicotine, the less likely you are to become too addicted, and you're just less likely to get past that age of peer pressure where you're a teenager in college. But disposable vapes, they are marketed towards young people. They're marketed as trendy lifestyle products. They come in prices of €7 to €8, so very affordable for young people. They come in all these fruity flavors. And if you look online, all the influencers are using disposable vapes as an attractive lifestyle product. So they're hugely appealing to young people, and they have no place. In Irish society.
I mean, we can have the conversation, and this is where the sort of electronic cigarettes came in initially, was as, you know, people, long-term smokers, have tried everything, couldn't get off them, and it's the better of two evils along those lines or whatever. And then, as you say, these disposable, fruity flavoured vapes marketed specifically at young people. And as you say, it is horrendous really to see on TikTok, YouTube, these influencers who are gods to these young people pushing these vapes on them. And I think it's a failure of government not to have blocked that or to legislate in that in some regard, because we have a situation now where people that have never smoked are addicted to nicotine. It's crazy, isn't it? And the only thing the vape does is satisfy their nicotine need once they become addicted to it. It serves no other purpose except to damage their health. Do we have any evidence? I mean, you've talked about how nicotine can, and may hinder brain development and what have you. Is anything emerging as to the impact on, lung health, long-term, heart health, particularly, I suppose, from your perspective, Mark? Are we seeing anything in that regard yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Irish Health Research Board, so it's Irish research, it showed that e-cigarette use can cause lung injury, can cause burn, can cause poisonings. But there's been research carried out by the European Heart Journal, and that showed that the use of e-cigarettes can damage arteries, your heart, and your lungs as well. But and obviously there's so obviously, as you're saying, that e-cigarettes, they are much safer than smoking, and we do see that e-cigarettes can play a role for long-term adult smokers seeking to quit, but it's just but they're not harm-free, and there's no place for young people, for teenagers who have never smoked, to ever have used.
And I don't think any former smokers are using disposable fruity vapes. That market is the young teen, never smoked before market. For the most part, I would say probably 85% of the guess, because you would know people out and about, and someone who is serious about stopping smoking and vaping as an alternative. And I'm not promoting that, by the way, just stating a fact. They're not going around with little cute looking things that taste like or smell like bubblegum. They're not. They're simply not. They're going into a vape shop and they're getting a bit of equipment.
Like the two hugely popular disposable vapes at the moment are the Elf Bar and the Lost Mary. And like you said, it's not these long-term adult smokers who are using these disposable vapes that are made in China or produced by the tobacco companies to in a fruity flavors in banoffee pie or energy flavor. They're using their reusable tank because they've gotten advice, and for them they feel that e-cigarettes are the best way to quit. And we see that there is a role to play, but we see a healthier equilibrium, because at the moment it's way out of kilter and it's all pushed on young people.
I actually think this goes back to the we saw how it was approached in England. I just think that there's been foot dragging about vaping here for years, in that never really taking a stance on it as an official alternative to smoking or a stop smoking measure. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be, but it was never been established. It's murky waters, you know what I mean? And we're pulling from the Royal College of Surgeons or UK policy to try and frame this and put it into context. And I just think right from the beginning they should have said, right, it's okay for this, but only this, and we're going to legislate or whatever needs to be done to make sure that's the case. We're still dragging our feet. Banning the sale of these, not banning the sale of it, but banning the sales to under 18s doesn't go far enough, does it? Because there's a whole generation of people, in 2019, 20% of teens addicted to vapes. There's a whole new generation of people that will find a way to get them because they'll put the pressure on the parents or guardians, get me one because I'm going to tear this house up if you don't, not literally, but you know what I mean? So it needs more than simply just banning the sale of them to under 18s.
Absolutely. Like, we're one of the last countries in the EU to introduce a ban on under 18s. So the horse is bolted. We're way behind our EU counterparts. For the banning disposable vapes will be a huge way forward, bringing in the ban on under 18. But we need far more. At the Irish Sharp Foundation, we've been campaigning for Ireland to follow the likes of USA and increase smoking and e-cigarettes from 18 to 21, so deter that age even further. But also we need to look at the packaging of e-cigarettes. They come in these bright, colourful packaging, almost like a pack of Starbursts. They come in a huge amount of flavours. We need much more regulation on flavours, and we just need to do much more on the regulation of advertising, because as you said, there's all these influencers online who the young people and teenagers look up to. That needs to be regulated and banned completely, because there's no place for that at all.
If I was a parent of a child that was now addicted to a 50, 60, 70 euro per week habit, I'd be really quite angry that this has been allowed to happen, that legislators were asleep at the wheel, that they didn't see this happening, that no one... I was doing interviews about this years and years ago. Do you remember the Jupe or the U vapes in America? That must be 4, 5, 6 years ago. We were doing those. Juul. That's exactly what it is. We were at that time. We were saying these disposable vapes are for young, and in that time, the amount of young people using them has gone way, way through the roof. So we were talking on about it, like programs like this. We were speaking to experts like you. We were hearing from concerned parents. This is 5, 6, 7 years ago, and yet here we are making the same calls now. But instead of that, we've got a generation of 15 to 24 with many, many multiples of the original number now addicted to vaping and inhaling whatever is in the liquid and nicotine.
Exactly. Yeah, like the government, I suppose, they were left on their laurels. They were patting themselves in the back for some of the smoking policies that we introduced years ago, and we left e-cigarettes sit there, and we allowed the tobacco companies to kind of make hay with it as well. So we need much more action. And like that, the most recent evidence we have is from 2019, and since then disposable vapes have become hugely more popular. So who knows, like there'll be research carried out this year on the rate of youth vaping, but we're expecting that rate to have exploded compared to what it was like. So we need much more regulation and much more action.
2019, 18% of teens in Ireland vaped. Now you can go to the UK with more recent figures. 2021, 69%. So we're quite similar. I would imagine that figure's tracked maybe not quite as high, but somewhat we're close to that. And that is crazy.
We're probably following the similar patterns as the UK. So we're hugely concerned that there has been an explosion since the last time there was a study held. So we need much more regulation, as you said, by the government, because we can't let this last, because this is having a huge impact on youth health and environmental health. So we need much more action to be taken now, and take a leadership role, because Ireland was once seen as a leader in the world in tobacco policy. But we need to take we need to be brave again, be bold, and recommit to being one of the world leaders in tobacco and e-cigarette regulation policy.
Okay, Mark Murphy, Advocacy Manager with the Irish Heart Foundation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much for having me.
Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself.
An lá sira is far riamh. Ein tailach awan, Shaska nóméid on Malia. Céad acra de Gardini ália. Cera cheist fui anam na ground. Truck a nóméid don picnic heilig. Shocked slán on isca in séte. Sé flesht builig. Cúig de goira criúil. Ein lá do chredta awan. Agric an lá sira is far a vega gut riamh ag discoverireland.ie agus buintanamh sira in ein lá awan. A chur fáil ag fáilte Ireland.
Eating out later? Sister Sarah's mouth-watering menu is packed with tempting dishes and all-time favourites. Whether it's a special occasion or a private function, their party options and buffet choices have got you covered. Book now on 912238. Sister Sarah's, serving food you love until 9 p.m. every day.
If it's time to change your oven or hob, at Ben Swinney Euronics we have great value packages available right now, like the Zanussi oven and hob pack for just $4.99. We also have great value in double ovens, integrated fridge freezers, dishwashers and range cookers, with the delivery and installation service available. And we have great deals in kitchen appliances like air fryers, coffee machines, juicers and food mixers. Call in and see us at Ben Swinney Euronics in Letterkenny or Dungloe.
I think collectively the country's hearts are broken at the news that 2 teenage girls have died, three other people injured in a fatal road crash in County Monaghan yesterday evening. Gardaí attended the scene of the crash that happened at 6:45 p.m. yesterday evening on the N54 road at Legnakelly. As of a Garda statement, shortly after 11:20, one vehicle remained at the scene. The two girls, aged 16 and 17, were passengers in the car and were fatally injured. A female who's 18 also is in a critical condition. A male who's 18 is receiving treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. The male driver of the car, aged 60, is in a critical condition at Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast. Senator Robbie Gallagher joins us on the programme now. Senator, this is just impossible to put into words. This awful tragedy for these people, their families, their friends, the county, but the country, I think.
Absolutely, Greg, and there's a very dark cloud hanging over the Clonus area of County Monaghan, and indeed County Monaghan, and indeed the entire country, as you outlined in your presentation there. Families have been broken this morning, and my heart goes out to them, and I'd like to extend my deepest sympathy to the families of the two young girls, as you said, aged 16 and 17, who tragically lost their lives in this accident. And I suppose we're holding our breath in relation to the others that were involved. One 18-year-old girl who is in critical condition in Cavan Hospital, and an 18-year-old boy who was also in Cavan Hospital, thankfully, with non-life-threatening injuries, and the driver of the car, 60-year-old male, who is currently in the Royal Victoria Belfast with also critical injuries. So I sincerely hope, as regards fatalities, Greg, that this is the last of this we're going to hear about. But for now, I suppose we hold our breath and hope that this is the end of fatalities. But it's very hard to comprehend, and people in Donegal, unfortunately, are well aware of tragic accidents that happened down through the years. And if you can imagine the scene, I'm sure many families can imagine the scene here, Greg, yesterday evening, where you had young people all excited about going to their debs, and we can all relate to family members having travelled that road and the fun and the excitement and the joy that goes with that. And then for that fun and excitement to turn to a nightmare of this accident, just shows you how fragile life is and how life can be grasped from you with the blink of an eye.
Yeah, and they were on the way to the Debs. That event was understandably cancelled. And you know, obviously we're thinking on those that lost their lives and their families and their friends, which they were going to go and meet and have a wonderful night with, sort of a rite of passage for them. The ripples of this are going to impact many, many people, not least all of those that would have learned and can only imagine how that must have felt of the passing of their school friends, their friends.
Absolutely. It's a horrific event for all the young people and the whole community involved. And your listeners, Joe or Greg, will be very familiar with this patch of roadway where this accident occurred. It was a single vehicle accident, I understand, and all 5 people were travelling in the one car. This is a stretch of road that many Donegal people would have travelled on their way to Clonus for big GAA matches, just roughly about 2.5 miles on the Monaghan side of Clonus town. And as I say, people travelling there to what should have been a night of enjoyment, and then that turns to a nightmare for all involved. And we think our hearts go out to the parents of the 2 young girls and the extended families, and to the rest who are holding their breath in relation to those that are injured. And it just doesn't affect those families, but it also affects the entire community and all the young people who were so excited about going to their Debs. They all attended the local Largy secondary school in Clonus, and they were on their way to the Debs, which was being held in Monaghan town. That event naturally was cancelled. Yeah. The secondary school was opened up last night to allow young people to gather and to offer support to them and indeed to their families that were going through this nightmare. So I suppose for the families concerned, Joe, their lives have changed forever. And these people will have to carry this cross for the rest of their lives. This is a life-changing event for the families involved and indeed for the whole community. And as I say, our heart goes out for them, and all we can do is offer them our support and our prayer at this terrible, difficult time for them.
That's it, and we'll join you in that, Senator. Thank you for your time this morning. I wish we were speaking about anything else, but we appreciate you coming on. Senator Robbie Gallagher, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. As I say, just sadness beyond words. Right, okay. Let's say good morning now to Noreen. Noreen, thanks very much for joining us. How are you keeping now?
You're welcome. Yes. How am I? Well, I'm sitting in a casualty for the 2nd day in a row, and everything's very pleasant, everything's very nice, and we're all going nowhere.
When did you arrive into casualty, Noreen, and what was your experience?
Well, I arrived in yesterday morning early. I sat all day long. I was fed twice very nicely. The staff were pleasant. And I went absolutely nowhere except moved from one chair to another out of boredom. And the same seemed to be happening again this morning.
You're 25 hours there now. You went in at 10 to 9. It's now 10 to 10. So you've been there a full 24 hours in the ED.
No, I left last night at 2 o'clock. I couldn't take it any longer.
Wow, okay.
And I'm in now this morning, and they're going through the whole procedure again as if there was a black stranger. Although I've still got my little band, my plastic band, with my name, address, telephone number, and the name of my dog. And they're not interested in that. We're going through the whole procedure again.
So yesterday, and I should point out, because I know you don't mind, you're a lady in your 80s. Is it for yourself that you went in, Noreen? It's you that feel you need treatment, yes?
Yeah, I felt that I've been having pains in my head, and I got worried about it, and I thought I'd go and see about myself, yeah.
Okay.
So I came in voluntarily into casualty,
No, and you were right too with pains in your head. Now, you did get soup and sandwiches at 11:30 yesterday, at 3 p.m. again. You were finally seen for the first time at 3 p.m. So I presume you thought, right, the wheels are turning now. You've been there since 9, you've been triaged at 3, but still by 11 p.m. you were still sitting there no further on.
Absolutely, yeah. Except I have a lovely little plastic band telling everyone who I am, my age, and not my weight. Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you can keep that a secret. You're not the only older person there either, Noreen, I think you observed.
The average age is over 80, I would imagine. And I think most of them look more decrepit than I do, for just saying something.
Well,
unfortunately.
You got up to give others seats, didn't you?
No, I'm laughing, but it's not. It's sad that we're spending so much money, we're wasting so much money. Obviously, the money is going to salaries of managers that are obviously not doing their work. Now, that's my observation, because the staff on the ground that we have met, I think 3 at this stage, 2 nurses and some sort of a doctor, have been gentle, kind and interested.
Mm-hmm.
I can't and won't fault them. But there's something seriously wrong with Ireland if we're allowing this in 2023. Millions of pounds being wasted, I would imagine, and nobody getting better. And nobody seems to realise that the population is ageing and that that's what we have to do, look after the older people better than we are.
Well, we knew, Noreen, that this was coming. We knew this was coming for quite some time. It's a positive thing that our population is ageing, but we don't seem to be putting anything in place to facilitate that. We're just so you eventually had to leave early this morning. You were after being there for 15, 16 hours. You just had to go home.
Yes.
You weren't able to get any sleep.
My daughter's taking time off work. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they care for me and they want the best for me. And I have private insurance. Doesn't make any difference, it seems. It doesn't help me out. And I kind of object to using it as well, insofar as that we've done it other ways, in taxes and so on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, there's no solution until there's a complete shake-up of the health board. It has to be looked at seriously by government. It should be a priority with an ageing population.
But what worries me too, Noreen, is I would know of people, or we'd also have spoken to people that actually won't go back to the hospital again after the experience you've had, that they say simply...
Well, I'm very near it. Yeah. I'd rather be at home. And then that puts the burden on daughters that, have other lives,
Yeah, but we don't need... Hopefully now it's a quick scan and everything's okay with you, but we can't have you leaving.
Oh, I hope so.
Because we have to make sure that you're okay. But I do know people are saying, whatever happens, I'm not going back to the hospital. And that's a terrible, terrible situation we find ourselves in, Noreen.
It's a fierce indictment of the whole country and us as a nation. It really is. Yeah.
It's not quite as busy this morning.
But thank you very much for talking.
Noreen, it's not quite as busy this morning?
No, not quite so busy.
Okay, listen.
No, not quite so busy this morning.
I hope you get seen soon. And as I say, I hope it's just precautionary and you get home to your comfy space as soon as it's possible, Noreen. Okay, that's Noreen in her 80s reporting for us live there, effectively, from the emergency department at Letterkenny University Hospital. Why not ban cigarettes? Aren't they an awful lot worse? Well, see, the problem with that is a significant problem. We can ban the vapes. I stopped smoking and used a vape to help. Being honest, I was more addicted to the vape than I was cigarettes, and I got to the point where I didn't want to leave it out of my hand. I wouldn't leave the house without an extra battery and juice just in case. Thankfully, I eventually was able to quit the vape. I found my gums were bleeding a lot while vaping. Okay. There's a water outage in many areas of Killybegs this morning, I'm told. This listener called Ishka Aaron, and just to let others in the community know, they said it won't be back until 7 this evening. So if you're listening to us in beautiful Killybegs and your water's out, hopefully it returns quicker than that. I was out shopping yesterday. My bill came to over €70, and the girl at the till asked if I had any vouchers, which I didn't. A lady behind me stepped forward and gave the shop assistant a €10 voucher off. And I got my shopping €10 cheaper. I was delighted and just wanted to say how grateful I am. It was so kind, and kindness is alive and well in the world. €10 saved. Thank you. That was in Duns. So if you were in Duns behind that lady, or it might have been a gentleman, but it certainly was a lady that offered the voucher, it's very much appreciated. A very lovely lady is celebrating her 90th birthday today. Myra Toy from the Grange in Letterkenny, wishing you a great day, Mum. Lots of love from all your family. And a birthday shout out to Darren Worski from all the two-band crew, the Deehans in Burnfoot, and from Arshani, all the way in Oz, wishing you a happy 40th birthday. So happy birthday. And don't forget, if you have any requests or dedications, we're more than happy to share them if you get in contact with us. And last comment before we take a break for the news and obituary notes is I recently spent a few days on holidays around Ireland. A pint in Galway cost me €5. In Dublin, the same price, €8.95. And in Donegal, the same pint was €5.10. In Belfast, it was £6 sterling. With the exception of Belfast, how are these prices justified? Well, Dublin, I don't know. I wouldn't go near the place at this stage with the gouging that's going on left, right and centre. They will say, though, the rates are higher, the cost of doing business is higher, but I don't know. I saw higher than that. Over €9 for a pint in Temple Bar. You have to be having a laugh. Back after these.
Get Ireland's best broadband with Virgin Media and enjoy speeds of up to 2 gig and 99.9% reliability. Hear that, John?
Huh?
Gaming has never been better.
I know, sure, I'm in the middle of a battle royale.
I see that. Go you.
Yeah, nice one.
Whatever way you play, switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Terms and conditions apply, subject to location and availability. Ireland's best broadband awarded by Umlaut. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Looking to upgrade your home appliances? Irwin's Expert Electrical have you covered. Purchase any AEG and Electrolux home appliance and get up to a whopping €250 cashback. Planning to buy more than one appliance? There are multiple cashback amounts waiting for you. The more you buy, the more you save. Visit Irwin's Expert Electrical today and discover the amazing savings. Offer ends August 28th.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Geordie with the news in full at 10 o'clock. 2 teenage girls who were killed in County Monaghan last night were on their way to Largate College's school prom. The single vehicle collision happened on the N54 in Legnakelly on the Clonus to Smithborough Road just before 7 p.m. The driver of the car, a man in his 60s, is in critical condition in hospital in Belfast, while an 18-year-old girl is in serious condition in hospital in Cavan. A boy who is also 18 is being treated for less serious injuries. Monaghan Senator Robbie Gallagher spoke to Greg Hughes on this morning's 9 Till Noon show. He says it's a dark day for Clonus.
There's a very dark cloud hanging over the Clonus area of County Monaghan and indeed County Monaghan and indeed the entire country, as you outlined in your presentation there. Families have been broken this morning, and my heart goes out to them, and I'd like to extend my deepest sympathy to the families of the 2 young girls, as you said, aged 16 and 17, who tragically lost their lives in this accident. And I suppose we're holding our breath in relation to the others that were involved.
Efforts to remove lead from Ireland's drinking water supply network are far too slow, according to the EPA. 3 of Donegal's water systems remain on the remedial action list, meaning they are among Ireland's at-risk supplies. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
The EPA's latest report shows the quality of drinking water is extremely high, but almost 500,000 people are still being served by at-risk supplies. These include 3,518 in the Glentees Ardara area and 2,266 in Lettermack Ward and 2,560 in Milford. Meanwhile, nationally, 182,000 people were affected by boil water notices last year. In Donegal, Ross's had an 8-day boil water notice for failure at the water treatment plant, while the people of Lettermack Ward had a notice in effect for 2 months of last year. A boil water notice was issued for the area again yesterday. The Crown Nalihi Meanria area experienced a trihal o methane failure, while Milford met compliance in the area in line with the direction given within a 3-month deadline.
Meanwhile, residents and businesses are warned of repair works that may cause water supply disruptions. Works are to take place until 3 p.m. this afternoon, impacting Portnabla, Woodhill, Sesha, Sandhill and surrounding areas. Meanwhile, in South Donegal, a burst water main may cause outages in Kellybegs, Bruckles and surrounding areas. Those works are taking place until 7 p.m. this evening. It is advised that it may take up to 3 hours after the estimated time for supplies to fully return. The development of a Peace Plus local community action plan for Donegal is a step closer after Donegal County Council confirmed this week it's now moving on to stage 3 of the process. This will involve further public consultation before the final plan is submitted by December. Donal Kavanagh has more.
Donegal County Council says the plan, informed by a local community engagement process, will enable and empower communities to assist in the development of priority projects and programmes that the Council will submit under the Peace Plus programme. This, the Council says, will result in shared and inclusive local services, facilities and spaces and make a significant and lasting contribution to peace and reconciliation. Stages 1 and 2 of the consultation process are now complete. An indicative report has been published. The Council is now embarking on a final series of public consultation events before an application is submitted to the special EU programmes body by the 14th of December. A number of Zoom meetings will take place over the next fortnight, along with face-to-face sessions in Donegal Town, Dungloe, Letterkenny, Carndonagh and Stranorlar. More details and links on our website, highlandradio.com.
Raising the minimum wage would see household expenses go up too. The Irish Small and Medium Enterprise Association is warning the proposed increase of 12.4% to the minimum wage is unsustainable. It says it will lead to a 2.5% rise in the price of groceries. CEO of ISME Neil McDonald explains how.
Depending on store size, the cost of the labour input to your grocery bill is somewhere between 8% in, the large discounters, up to 20% for very small convenience or corner stores. But you factor that into a 12.4% increase in the national minimum wage.
Looking now to weather, largely dry and bright with just a few lingering showers. Highest temperature of 17 to 19 degrees. Light to moderate westerly breezes gradually backing southeasterly. That's all for now. We'll be back with the next news update at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The obituary notice is for this Tuesday morning, August the 1st. The death has occurred of Hazel Mahan, née Doherty, Curramone Ballybuffet and formerly Raku Ballantrae. Remains reposing at the home of her daughter and son-in-law Paul and Alison Stewart, Largnalore Ballybuffet from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Fiona leaving from there on Thursday afternoon at 1:15 for service of Thanksgiving in Stranorlar Parish Church at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Funeral service of Thanksgiving will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of so desired to the Donegal Hospice and Stranorlar Parish Church Fund care of any family member. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Anne McGeehan, née Laverty, Craigan Ballybuffet, formerly of Ardmacool Stranorlar. Remains reposing at her late residence with rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. Fiona leaving from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar, followed by interment in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on churchservices.tv. Family time from after the rosary until 12 noon and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Patrick Doherty, Paul, 34, Closs-Podrick, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his brother Neely's residence at Ballylusky, Carndonagh. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Cremation to follow at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Carndonagh Hospice Ward, care of any family member. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has occurred of John Neelis, Drumflaw, Creeslaw. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Mass can be viewed live on mcmmedia.tv. Burial afterwards in Doe Cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Danny McGugan, Tully Ard, Ballylawn Moville and Kilcross Clonmany. His remains will arrive at St Mary's Church Clonmany this afternoon at approximately 4 o'clock, travelling via Kilcross Clonmany to repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock with interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or McFeely Funeral Directors. Danny's Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Nora Connors, née Friel, Tamney Fanid. Remains reposing at the home of her brother Jim and Mary Friel, Ballymichael Fanid. Funeral will take place this morning in St Mary's Church, Fanavolti Fanid at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers to Community Hospital Ramelton, care of any family member or Eamon Scott Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Mary Ferry, née Diver, Morden, Edinburgh and formerly Derry Harv, Creeslot, County Donegal. Remains reposing at the family home at 35 Morden Park Street, Edinburgh on Thursday with rosary at 6:30. Funeral Mass will be held in St John Vianney's RC Church, Edinburgh at 10 o'clock on Friday morning with burial at Morton Hall Cemetery at 11:15. The death has occurred of Mary McLaughlin, formerly Ballinamore, Fintown. Remains reposing at McKill's Chapel of Rest, Ballybuffet, this evening from 6 o'clock until rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for Requiem Mass in St Colmcille's Church, Fintown at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the Facebook page. The death has occurred of Liam McManaman, Eggleston Bean, Castlefin, reposing at his late home. Funeral from the family home this afternoon at 1:15 for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Castlefin. Cremation afterwards in Lakelands Crematorium, County Cavan. Family home in Eggleston Bean is private to family and close friends. The death has occurred of Fonzie McManaman, 40 Lacht Foggy Road, Castlederg, reposing at the family home. Funeral from the family home this morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Ahiarn. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. And the death has occurred of Philly Rogers, Lochanuir. Philly's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, with interment afterwards in the new cemetery. Family flowers only, donations in lieu of desire to Dungloe Community Hospital, care of any family member or Sean McGlynn Funeral Directors. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Are you suffering from dodgy internet connection? Symptoms include endless loading, embarrassing freeze face. Luckily, there's a cure. 3 Home Broadband in Ireland's fastest and most consistent 5G network. Get it free for the first 3 months and for only €39 per month after that. Plus, no setup costs. You don't want to miss this. Visit in store or at 3.ie. 24-month minimum term. Subject to location and availability. Speeds may vary. Based on analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q3 to Q4 2022.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 Till Noon show. A very good morning if you've just joined us. Coming up shortly, we're going to have Sergeant Anderson in studio with us, giving us the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. We have a missing persons appeal as well. We'll be displaying his image as part of that appeal. So if you want to log on to our Facebook or YouTube account and watch that segment, you'll be able to see that image too. And maybe you might be able to help. YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your phone, tablet, laptop, your smart TV, which normally has the YouTube app pre-installed on it. So just search Highland Radio on it, or on your Fire Stick as well, which definitely has the YouTube app for you there. And on our Facebook pages, Highland Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport. A listener says, the accident and emergency, the strong, articulate voice of Noreen doesn't sound like an emergency. Don't get me wrong, I have every empathy for patients, but I think Noreen's GP should be her first port of call. Well, Noreen may well have called to her first GP. I'd question the empathy levels there with respect, because obviously Noreen is an incredibly strong woman, has taken the decision to advocate on behalf of not only herself but others that are in the ED. Noreen spent an awful long time in there with acute pain in her head, which I didn't go into, but it was in the notes. She did tell us about that. And of course she's going to be extremely concerned about that when it's a pain that doesn't abate. So that's the place for her. If she was my mum, that's exactly where she would be to get that checked out. But she was in there from 10 to 9 yesterday. She eventually had to go home in the early hours of this morning, 2 a.m, she said, because she couldn't take it any longer. She had soup and sandwiches at 11:30 and 3. The staff were lovely to her, empathetic, showed empathy, were friendly and caring and concerned, but charged at 3, nothing for the rest of the day, and had to leave in the early hours of the morning. Arrived back in this morning and the whole process starts again. A caller says it's no surprise that lady is treated poorly in 2023. Most people shunned the right to life for children just 5 years ago, actually voted it away. Not sure the connection there, but thanks for the point. Greg, my 82-year-old sister sat in ED for 29 hours before she got to bed. 82 years of age, on those seats down in the ED for 29 hours. Hopefully at some point she was moved to a more comfortable chair, but keep them coming into us. Tell us your stories in that regard. Again, I just think it's important that we, when we get someone like Noreen that comes on, that we hear those stories. What was your experience in the ED, particularly with an older person? Because it's all right for me. I probably could go down there and tolerate the sit. I've done it before. I've done 10, 11, 12 hours with people before for minor things, as it turns out, but still nonetheless did. I haven't personally done it with an older person, but we heard it, as I say, incredibly articulately from Noreen, but that doesn't tell the full story of how she's feeling. Greg, I was in my doctor's yesterday. I paid €65 to see my GP, but it was too busy and I only saw the nurse. A man came and was asked for €15. He said he was an asylum seeker and didn't have any money. She said, yes, but you have a medical card and hence why you are only being asked for €15. How is this fair? I worked all my life in this country and paid taxes and I get nothing for nothing. It's no wonder this country is rising up. Well, there's many people, whether they're asylum seekers or not, that have medical cards, but I take your point. Greg, my heart is breaking for the families and friends of that horrific tragedy in County Cavan. God comfort and console them all. That's coming in from Mary there. Just last one before we take a break as we get Community Garda Information underway. Greg, I was out for a drive yesterday and was very surprised at the amount of people who blow their car horns at other people. Yesterday, an older man pulled out in front of a car. Granted, it could have caused an accident, but hands up, who hasn't done it at least once in their life? To blow his horn at him was one thing, but this person continued to follow him up the road, blowing the car horn. But 10 out of 10 to the older driver just slowed right up about 5 kilometres an hour and kept the driver behind him, most likely making a bad day worse for him. Then a mum and child was crossing the road on a crossing, expecting the car to stop. Foolish her. She walked out and another driver blew the horn and shouted abuse despite being the one in the wrong. This morning, a few cars in front of me, stopped to let a car out and the driver behind it didn't take kindly to it, blowing his car horn. Why are drivers in this county so aggressive? Is there really any need for it? Are we aggressive drivers in this county? That's one listener with 3 experiences over the course of 2 days. Is that the type of driving behaviour you witness out there? And if so, why? It's not just, relax, breathe. The person has to cross the road. Why are you tooting your horn? Is everything that urgent? 086 60 25,000. Get involved in that conversation as well. Maybe you've been elsewhere and you thought the driving behaviour was worse. Let us know. We're very interested.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 Till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 1st of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 31. The numbers are 19, 58, 24, 54, 72, 14, 30, 46, 27, and finally 16. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New this week at Home Store and More. All 100% cotton children's duvet sets are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price 100% cotton children's duvet sets are gone, they're gone. Also, all garden furniture sets and all school bags are still all half price. But when all the half price garden furniture sets and school bags are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts off dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
The Community Garda Information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
OK, it's time for Community Garda Information on this Tuesday, the 1st of August 2023. We are joined in studio again this week by Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from the Buncrana Garda Station. Thanks so much for joining us, Charlene. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Good. OK, we'll get straight into it and we'll start with a missing persons appeal.
That's correct, Greg. So we're appealing for information from the public this morning in relation to tracing the whereabouts of a 74-year-old male, Mr. Daniel McLaughlin, who was missing from his home in Quigley's Point in Donegal. Now, Daniel was last seen at his home in Quigley's Point in around the 7th of July. Daniel is described as being 6 foot in height and of a slim build. He has grey hair and we believe his eye colour is blue, but he wears glasses. Now, he's known to regularly visit Quigley's Point, Derry City and Carndonagh. Now, Gardaí and Daniel's family are extremely concerned for his welfare. So if anyone has any information in relation to Daniel's whereabouts, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 07493 20540, or as always, they can contact the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111, or indeed they can contact any Garda station. I'm aware that you're going to post Daniel's picture on the Highland Radio Facebook page, so if anyone wants to log in and they'll see a picture of Daniel on your page. And also Daniel's family just wants to thank the public for their assistance to date in relation to this. Yeah,
indeed. And we've been, just whilst you were giving that appeal, viewing a picture of Daniel. So if you're watching, have a good look at that picture and see if it triggers any memories or any sightings from you. And also, as Charlene said, it's available on our social media as well. So hopefully Daniel is found really soon. Right, now an appeal as it relates to an assault at Main Street in Ardra.
That's correct. So Gardaí are investigating a serious assault, and this occurred at Main Street, Ardra, on Saturday night, the 29th of July, at approximately 10 p.m. Now, a male aged in his 20s was removed from the scene to Letterkenny University Hospital, and he's been treated for non-life-threatening injuries. So we're appealing for any witnesses to the assault to come forward, or as always, any road users that may have dashcam footage that perhaps was in the area at the time, or indeed any pedestrians or anyone that simply has any information in relation to the assault. Greg, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon, and the number there is 071 98 58530.
OK, now colleagues in Letterkenny investigating a case of criminal damage.
That's correct. So criminal damage incident occurred in the Glencar Irish area of Letterkenny on Thursday the 27th of July at approximately 10:45 p.m. Now, this particular incident, a glass pane of a door in the school was smashed as a result of a rock being thrown through it. So we're just appealing for anyone who may have been in the area. We're also appealing for anyone who may have observed a group of youths in the area hanging around the school around that particular time. We'll say even from 10 till 11 p.m. And once again, if anybody drove through the area and dashcam footage, if they have it, to make it available to us, and that's to the Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Yep, and just to remind listeners that in terms of the dash cam, you hand over your cam with a card and the Gardaí look after all that business for you. You're not expected to download it yourself, isolate the time and all that type of stuff.
If they just contact us, Greg, and make us aware that they have it, we can facilitate them then with the download process.
Right, okay. Now, is a theft incident in Bridgend next.
That's correct. So Gardaí in Buncrana this time are appealing for information in relation to the theft, and this theft occurred at Bonamain Bridgend between 10 p.m. on Saturday, the 29th of July, and 4 p.m. on Sunday, the 30th of July. Now, a chip van was parked at the location. It was targeted between those times. The lock was forced open and entry was gained. The cash register, which contained a sum of money, was stolen from the van. So if anyone has any relevant information in relation to this investigation which may assist us, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540.
Now to the south of the county and a burglary in Bundoran.
So Gardaí in Ballyshannon are seeking the assistance of the public this morning in relation to a burglary that occurred in the Marina Lane area of Bundoran on Saturday, the 29th of July at approximately 3:30 p.m. Now, a resident of the property there was asleep when they realised that someone else had entered the property as they could hear voices. A man and a woman had entered the property without permission. Now, they left immediately when the residents shouted out to them. Nothing was taken from the property, but we just appeal to anyone who may have observed a woman and a man in that area. They may have been checking doors, they may have attempted to enter another property that maybe perhaps we're not aware of, but just if they'd like to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon and 98585530 in relation to this particular incident.
Right, okay, now your colleagues in Milford dealing with a burglary investigation.
That's correct. So once again, Gardaí in Milford are appealing for information in relation to the burglary. Then this one occurred at the parish hall belonging to St Mary's Chapel, and that's at the Tank in Ramelton. And it occurred sometime between Saturday the 29th of July at 6 p.m. and Monday the 31st of July at 10 a.m. Now the lock was broken on an exterior and interior door in order to gain access to the premises. Now nothing was taken from the hall, but again, if anyone observed anything suspicious in the area, to contact Gardaí in Milford 9153060.
Yeah. Now a lot of our features as it relates to raising awareness is about sort of remote fraud or what have you. You know, bogus telephone calls, bogus emails, and what have you, and text. But we still have an issue and have to be aware of the threat or concern surrounding cold callers, bogus callers calling in person to properties. There's been a few issues of concern lately.
That's correct, Greg. Well, we have received a number of reports in relation to perhaps bogus callers calling to houses and, you know, in around the Letterkenny area. Now, one particular incident relates to a male who was calling to houses selling ornaments and jigsaws. Apparently, he told a number of different stories at different houses that he visited. One resident in the area was very concerned for an elderly neighbour because she had left the man in question unattended at her front door while she went to get her purse to purchase an item from him. Now, thankfully, in this case, the man didn't enter the property, but it was just really to provide advice to any of the listeners this morning that if they encounter a situation like this, you know what to do. It's better to be safe than sorry. So I suppose, look, bogus callers may offer services such as power washing, painting, selling goods, and they prefer to target the more vulnerable people, perhaps, you know, living alone. So the advice, once again, as always, would be do not open your door to anyone before you're confident that you know who they are and they have a genuine reason for calling to your home. Use a chain lock for added security, and don't leave anyone unattended, perhaps at your front door, whilst you go and fetch money or that, and don't allow anyone access to your home for any reason that you don't know. And perhaps if you have maybe large quantities of money, maybe leave it in the post office or the bank or the credit union. Don't keep it at your house. Bogus callers, look, they can be intimidating and often refuse to take no for an answer. In those circumstances, I would recommend contact Gardaí immediately. And just for people to be vigilant, Greg, when they're out and about, and report any suspicious people or vehicles to guards. And look, if you do encounter a situation like this, if you can get as much information as possible, even without going outside your house, like if they're driving a vehicle, the colour, the reg, partial reg, maybe a description of the person, the direction of travel when they left your property, all that, you know, if they could pass that on to the guards when they are reporting it, that's great information for us, because then we can take it from there. And we just ask the listeners to please advise other people, perhaps they know elderly or vulnerable persons, of bogus callers and what to do if they encounter them.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone's financial situation is different. The chain is a fantastic piece of equipment because people don't want to be ignorant and not open the door.
That's it.
Also, these, and they're really quite affordable now in terms of security, and I'm not saying you or I are plugging or promoting them, but the video doorbells, because instantly you have a record of the interaction. which is really helpful. And these people may well be aware that it's there as well, and it might change their tone and demeanour and behaviour. Okay, as I say, we're not promoting them, or you certainly aren't, but it just would be a nice bit of security. I think if my dad was still with me, it's the kind of thing I'd get him, and then I'd feel a bit more comfortable about the whole situation. Right, okay. What we've been talking about, big open spaces, the guards are hosting these property marking situations. You can bring your tractor, your trailer, whatever it is, and get it marked. And then someone asks, very good question, what happens then when you get your trailer marked, and if you want to go and set it on later, because it's got your information or your air code on it. So what happens next?
I suppose a lot of the time people do put their air codes on it, and then they wonder if they sell the trailer on. And exactly this is what this question is all about. The purpose of the mark is to identify the goods in the event of a theft. Now, if the goods are stolen from their new owner and subsequently recovered, Gardaí will simply trace the item back to you, and then obviously you'll be able to provide the details. Well, hopefully be able to provide the details of the person you sold it to. But if someone wishes to have, we'll say, their air code removed from a trailer that they wish to sell on, they can do that. Now, it's not totally removed, but it can be stamped over. And basically what that is, it's just resulting in a black rectangle of dots, and then somebody else could come and have something else stamped onto it. So look, it can be done. You'd have to take it back to the Garda station, or take it to a property marking event. Now, I know there was one last Saturday at the Mary from Dungloe, and there's more property marking events next week for the Clonmany Festival. So if anyone wants to attend and have a trailer, have even a mobile phone, anything like that marked, absolutely, it's no problem.
Yes, and there was a property marking event due to take place at Dromahal football pitch at Cloughan Community Centre. That was supposed to happen the day before yesterday. No, it was, 31, 20, 30, 29, 4 days ago, who knows. But anyway, it's past now, it doesn't matter. It didn't happen because of the poor weather. It's being rescheduled for later in the year, September, we think, and when that's happening, we'll give people plenty of notice. Okay, it's really welcome actually to get an update on this, because people were getting somewhat worried about a spate of car thefts. And certain cars being targeted, but now there's been arrests. We probably won't get into that in too much detail, but so far as to give people an update on the progress in that investigation. Charlene.
That's correct. We actually have two updates this morning, but just in relation to the spate of car thefts, we can confirm that there was 5 people arrested and are now before the courts in relation to those particular investigations. We just like to thank everybody who assisted, and indeed the appeals that we make on the radio. People do come forward, they do provide us with information, and we just like to thank them as always. And further to this, on the 11th of July we made an appeal on the radio show for information in relation to an incident in Buncrana between a motorcyclist and a motorist. Now, I can confirm that a person has been arrested in relation to that particular incident as well. And once again, to thank the public for coming forward and providing information to assist us with our investigations.
Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson, thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time. It's been lovely having you in. I know you look forward to this particularly, with all the other things that you do. Yeah, I see you popping up all over the place, but I know this is your favourite gig of all.
Absolutely, Greg. Yes.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
That was Community Garda Information. It'll be back with you next Tuesday, and we'll be back on today's show after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
The Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are on the road once again. Tune in this Wednesday at 2:30 for the Jive Time Show with David James, and Friday morning for Greg Hughes and the 9 Till Noon Show, with both shows live from the heart of the 56th Mary from Dungloe International Festival to celebrate their fun-filled programme of events. Check out the full lineup on maryfromdunloe.ie. Brought to you in association with Kavanagh SuperValue Dungloe.
With electrified finance rates available exclusively at iMotors. Find out how affordable our used electrical vehicles are with finance rates from 3.9% on all used electrical vehicles at iMotors. Low finance, no fuel bills. Doesn't it sound like the perfect second car for your household? Call in to Letterkenny or Malin to find out more, or visit imotors.ie.
And you're very welcome back to the programme, and encouraging to hear from Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson there, that as a direct result of you listening to the appeals here on Highland Radio's Community Information slot, 5 arrests made in relation to that spate of car thefts and that progress made in that investigation into that incident in Inishowen. So again, thank you for listening, and thanks to the Gardaí for cooperating with us here in this programme and getting that information out. Hi Greg, when will Donegal Town get its long-promised cinema? The whole saga is embarrassing. So many people flocking to cinemas across the county when they should have one in their town. That comes in from Sarah in Donegal Town. Well, Sarah in Donegal Town, firstly, thank you for listening. Secondly, Sarah, unfortunately, you're as far away as going to the cinema in Donegal Town as you ever were, because those plans were progressing really quite nicely. But unfortunately, the land ended up being sold to the supermarket or the discount store adjacent to it. So that's out the window now. That land no longer available for the cinema. So you're going to have to keep going to Bundoran or Letterkenny. Great cinemas there, but I understand you don't want to necessarily travel as far as you might. Right, World Breastfeeding Week 2023 is from today until Monday the 7th of August. The theme set by the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, WABA, for this year is Enabling Breastfeeding, Making a Difference for Working Parents. Right, okay, we're joined by a couple of guests here now. Susie, she's a mother of Luke, who's 11 months old. Good morning to you, Susie. How are you getting on?
Bad, thank you.
Good to have you with us. And also Jan Crombie, Lelesh, isn't it? League leader in Stranorlar and Letterkenny. Good morning to you.
That's right. Good
Jan.
morning, Greg.
How are you getting on?
Good, thank you.
How important is it? Well, I mean, I suppose Awareness Week's are kind of funny in a way. I can understand where it's an awareness week about a particular illness or, you know, something that we need to get checked out, or, you know what I mean? They're really, really useful. But it's kind of this such a natural thing for some people in feeding a baby that we have to have an awareness week to sort of discuss various issues surrounding it, Jan. There's still a lot of barriers there between one thing and another, isn't there, for mums who make that choice to be able to feel they can follow through with it?
Yeah, I think it's still not something that automatically comes to mind for mums. It's definitely changing. Since I had my babies many, many years ago, there are more mothers considering breastfeeding, and there are certainly more mothers initiating breastfeeding. It doesn't always go to plan. It can obviously be affected by the type of birth the mother has, and particularly the type of support she has afterwards. And that goes right up to when mother's thinking of returning to work and thinking, oh gosh, am I going to have to wean my baby entirely from the breast? Or how am I going to make this work for me and my baby? For lots of mums, they do want to continue with some breastfeeding. A lot of mums at this stage do introduce complementary foods, solid foods, but also perhaps formula as well. Still keeping some breastfeeding going, particularly for the immune factors that are there. We know that babies are born with immature immune systems, and it takes about a year for those systems to mature in the baby. So the mother breastfeeding is giving the baby her own immunity. But also if the baby itself gets sick, when the baby is feeding at the breast, because of the way the baby feeds, it's a vacuum-like pressure, and the baby's saliva is sucked back into the mother's nipple along with some breast milk, and then the mother's body will make immune factors, leukocytes, to whatever is wrong with the baby. So it's like having a little mini pharmacy there in the breast. Okay. And it's fabulous. So it is
when you describe it. I'm going, wow,
breastfeed going.
Nature is amazing, isn't it? We'll get to some of the issues or some of the things as we move on. But you talked about generational thing, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? You know, maybe your generation and generations that follow you, there was a gap here. And maybe there isn't the aunts and the mothers and the people around to support someone. And when you get your baby home and you're feeling sore, and you've someone described it to me as their hormones were up in the air, and you've got the tub of powdered milk there, and then you've got this other thing that you're trying to sort of get your head around and whatever. Sometimes you could just say, stuff it, you know what, I'm just going to go down the formula route. I think there's, from people I've spoken to, if they got maybe a little bit more support once they get out of the hospital, it might help them in the process. Is that a factor, do you think, Jan?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a factor. I think there is more support available now. all our public health nurses have had extra training in breastfeeding, and some of them are lactation consultants themselves. And there is now a lactation consultant in the community. Her name is Mary McFeely, and she is available to support, obviously, other public health nurses, but also to see mothers individually if they need it once they're home from hospital with their babies. There's also support in the community from... Sorry.
No, I'll tell you, I'll come back to you on that because I want to bring Susie in here and we'll pick up on that. Susie, as I say, is the mother of Luke, who's 11 months old now. You breastfed him until he was 10 months old. Was that something throughout the course of the pregnancy and after he was born, Susie, that you really wanted to do? And how difficult did you find it?
I think I always wanted to breastfeed, but I had a lot of friends who had breastfed before, it came to my turn, which was really quite helpful. But I did find I was anxious about maybe pressure being put on me to breastfeed if I didn't want to. I found that there's a lot of pro breastfeeding information right up until you have the baby, and then sometimes there can be, there's not as much perceived for some people after the baby comes along. And I suppose I was very lucky when Luke came along. I managed to breastfeed, and I came across Jan and La Leche fairly quickly. But I can honestly say, if it wasn't for the support that I got through La Leche, I don't know what I've been able to breastfeed for so long. It's a beautiful, natural way to feed your baby, and there's so many, health benefits to it, but it is quite onerous on the mother when they take it on. Certain things that you don't realize how painful it can be. Sometimes it's not supposed to be painful, but there can be elements of breastfeeding that are painful, like people get infections or babies can be tongue-tied. Also, you're exhausted. Giving birth is exhausting, and the babies don't come out and sleep for 8 hours, so and especially their tummies are so small when they're first born, so they're like the size of a marble, so that needs to be constantly filled. So when you're exhausted, your pain threshold is reduced, and I suppose having people around to help you through those difficult times that you maybe didn't anticipate yourself is really very important.
And I suppose that's in the early stages, but then as the baby starts to mature and you start to say, right, these four walls now are really starting to annoy me somewhat, are there further challenges then in terms of, if you want to go visiting, if you want to go out to the shop, if you want to start going back out into the world? For some people that comes at different times, of course, but then is it a different set of, I don't want to be discouraging in terms of complications, but maybe challenges might be a better way of describing it.
But it is a challenge, and every baby and every mother is different, so everybody's breastfeeding journey will be slightly different. Even the same mom and two different babies, they might have a different journey, but I suppose it depends on the person and how well the baby's feeding is established. Sometimes the baby can be quite thrashy, and you might find that a little bit intimidating when you first go out in public to try and latch a baby on if you're in a cafe and there's a lot going on and you're quickly trying to cover up. But it is becoming more and more you don't want to say socially acceptable, but it's becoming more socially normal. And I think for me, I could go out for dinner by myself. I could go to the cinema by myself. I don't really mind too much about, what other people would think. But I know for some people it might be really daunting. But
do you know what should be socially unacceptable, regardless of what people's views are?
Yeah.
Saying something to someone that you don't know or a dirty look.
Nobody's ever said anything.
But it does happen, and we've spoken to people in the past where people can't, they walk back past with their husband and look back as if to say, "Oh, he nearly saw the top of your breast" or something.
I know.
Do you know, if people feel like that, that's okay. You can feel like that, but don't make other people feel uncomfortable. That's what should be socially unacceptable. Yeah. I also, and Jan, I'll go back to you on this one. I think, Susie was talking about coming into contact with those services. I just hope that as many people as possible understand that, because as I say, I've spoken to people in the past, or I know people in the past that maybe didn't even know you existed. Do you know what I mean? That maybe wanted to give it a go, but they did get home and then it was like, oh, stuff it, I'm on my own here. Do you know, are we doing enough at the right times? Because things can be really quite up in the air in a maternity ward to say, right, by the way, just to remind you, we can give you the details of people that can support you. Are we doing that well enough, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think mothers get a pack when they're on the postnatal ward, and it includes the lists of breastfeeding supports, and not just the HLE groups, but Quidju, the other breastfeeding organisation, and public health nurse support groups that are on. And I'm on the ward myself on Wednesday and Friday mornings in a voluntary capacity. I chat to any mums who are breastfeeding. And sometimes a mum will say, no, I've already decided to stop, and that's fine. I can have a chat and just, talk to her about her baby, but it's not my role to change anybody's mind. In terms of support, sometimes it's easier if you've met somebody on the ward and you've seen the colour of their eyes. It's easier to ring that person a week later and say, oh, you met me on the ward, but X, Y has happened, and I'm just wondering. Often it's as simple as, is this normal? Is it normal that the baby's feeding every hour and a half? Yes, it is in the first couple of weeks. It's not going to stay like that, but it's normal. As Susie said, the baby's tummy capacity is tiny. The day they're born, 5 mils, which is a teaspoonful in the first 24 hours. So although there isn't a huge volume of breast milk there in the first 24 hours, the baby doesn't need that huge volume.
But I think
the volume increases.
But
so the more the baby feeds, the more milk the mother's body makes, and on it goes like that.
But early on, mothers can be concerned that maybe they're not producing enough milk because it's in a bottle. You can see, right, it's an ounce, it's 2 ounces,
exactly.
3 ounces.
So you look at a bottle and it's got 60 mils or whatever, and you think, oh my goodness, my breasts aren't making anything near that. But your baby doesn't need that amount in the first day. By the end of the first week, your breasts are producing about 60 mils per feed for a baby. Okay. If the baby has been feeding frequently ad lib, if you like, at the breast.
Yeah, and people,
for all mothers, it's supporting them in their choices. It is a choice to breastfeed. And as Susie said, it's not always easy. Sometimes it can be very difficult. And as Susie said, it can vary from baby to baby. But the important thing is that you make your choice with information. So you get the information about breastfeeding and then you think, oh, I don't think that's for me. That's fine. That's your choice. But if it is for you, then looking for the support, looking through those lists, asking your public health nurse, who else can I contact? Public health nurses are a wonderful support for mothers. They're usually there the day after the mom comes home from hospital. But that nurse has an enormous workload, and it's not just babies and postpartum mothers. It's everything from the cradle to the grave. So she can't be there all the time, no matter how much she might want to. And that's where the voluntary organisations come into play. We're available at the end of a phone or a WhatsApp message, day and night, literally. And also then in support group meetings. So for myself in the Hatter Tea Room on a Thursday morning in Sturnoller, I'm there every Thursday between 10:30 and midday, and anybody is welcome to come along. Even if it's because they're weaning their baby and they want to stop breastfeeding, you're still welcome to come along. I give whatever information is needed and whatever support I can.
Yeah. And I suppose too, Susan, this is not about putting pressure on anyone. It's about supporting people in their decision, because the pressure, if the truth be told, actually comes from the formula manufacturers, in terms of, saying this is good for your baby, and the small writing at the bottom saying breast is best or whatever it might say. And also, for newborn baby formulas, putting bigger babies on the front of the tubs and what have you. Do you know what I mean? So if there is any pressure coming, it's probably from the formula people. But this is about giving people support and options if it's what they want to do, and if it suits them and their life, Susan.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that you have an honest and open conversation about what breastfeeding entails, and knowing what difficulties may come down the tracks and how you can navigate them. I suppose the most important thing is the support for all the what ifs, and there's an abundance of information on the internet and social media, and it can be very overwhelming. But I had some support in the hospital, and like Jan was saying, that the staff in the hospital, they are busy, that they do what they can, but if when I was struggling, maybe leaving the house, I went down and I met the La Leche group on a Thursday, and there's no pressure. you arrive and you are welcomed with such, open arms. People will introduce themselves and their babies. You're under no pressure to remember anybody's baby's name or your name. And it's just about these open conversations, and the pressure is gone. And it is just a lovely open conversation about, is this normal? What can I, what do I do? And Jan is an absolute wealth of knowledge. So anytime I have, it's all been, dramatic in my head. And next thing I come down and to the Hatter for a cup of tea and I leave and I know what I'm doing again. So it's great.
Are you going to miss those Thursday mornings? Are you just going to keep going? Because it was
I'm still going.
He's just starting college, but I thought I'd call in for a quick coffee and a bun.
I had another question. I stopped breastfeeding, not fully by choice, but and even at that stage, Jan was so helpful when I went down, and we discussed things like relactation, and it's just great. And when hopefully we'll have another baby at some stage, and it's just I'm so delighted now that I know that support is so easily accessible, and it can be quite daunting to go down to 20 mothers in a tea room and be like, what if nobody talks to me? But that's just not going to happen.
And Jan, I get the theme of World Breastfeeding Week, this year being about enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents. But are we kind of so far behind the curve that we just really need to encourage and support people who wish to breastfeed? I'm just wondering if we're really at the point where we have to start worrying about how friendly work environments are. Of course, we need to get there, but we're seemingly starting from a low base in supporting and encouraging women if it suits them to breastfeed.
Yeah, we are starting from a low base, but I think we need to support those mothers who have initiated breastfeeding. It's not good enough to say, oh, you must breastfeed, oh, it's best for you, it's best for the baby. All of those things are true. But then there was a piece of research that came out last week which said that most mothers felt once they had the baby, there just wasn't anything like the support that they needed from health professionals. And they felt kind of cut off and adrift. So supporting the mothers who choose to breastfeed, giving mothers information when they're pregnant. They get that at the moment, but presenting it in a way that mother can take it in. When you're pregnant, there's so much in your mind, so much has to be done, particularly with a first baby. It's all new. It's overwhelming and it's overstimulating in some ways. But I think we need to go back further than that. And maybe if breastfeeding was portrayed in primary schools, in the early secondary school stage, so that girls and boys who are the mums and dads of the future are thinking, oh yeah, breastfeeding, that's what you do with babies. I mean, I see that with my own little granddaughter who's watched her baby cousin being breastfed. And so she gives her babies milkies now, her stuffies and her dollies and all. And her older brother has seen his baby cousin being breastfed. So he sees that as normalized. Quite normal.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't remember his sister being breastfed. But he's seeing it now as a 5-year-old, and she's nearly 4. And for them, I think that will make a difference.
Yeah, and it's, the information is so powerful too, because it's just earlier on when we were talking about the amount of milk a mother might express very early on. And I recall we were talking about this some time ago, and a mother was discouraged because she was trying to express it into a bottle, I think, and was producing quite little milk and sort of thought there was something wrong and gave up or something along those lines, I seem to recall. But as you've said there, in the first week, that's to be expected, and because of the way the body works, that milk then will increase, a number of days a week thereafter. So if that person had that information, then
the most effective and efficient way of getting breast milk out of a breast is a baby.
Of course.
A pump is a piece of equipment.
But people check,
it takes your body a little bit of time to get used to that, and it's just not as effective as the baby feeding at the breast. And the relationship between the mother and the baby. Breastfeeding is not just nutrition. It's a relationship. It's a bonding experience. And that does not mean that you can't bond if you're not breastfeeding. Of course you can. It makes it easier. But it also makes a postpartum mother who's just delivered her baby a week or 2 weeks ago sit down and feed her baby. Whereas often there are people coming to visit and you hand over the baby, somebody else gives the baby a bottle, you go off, make tea for all your visitors instead of sitting there recovering and letting everybody looking after you. So for that alone, it's worth doing for the first few weeks anyway. But of course, I would say it's much more worthwhile than that. For as long as you want to, stop when mom is ready to stop. Don't let anybody force you to keep going, and don't let anybody make you stop before you're ready.
Yeah, and Amy texted in, Susie, and we get this a lot when we talk about breastfeeding, where I think maybe people who are currently who are bottle feeding and made that decision, or those who have children and never breastfed. I think sometimes when these conversations are had, it feels personal to them. Like Amy messaged in here and says, leave mothers alone. They know themselves what's best for their babies. So do you get that? Like every time we have this conversation, I do know mums sort of, for whatever reason, there's a bit of a pushback on it, as if we're kind of trying to, or not me, but, we're trying to encourage people to do what they don't want to do or make them feel guilty for having not done it. It's a tough line to walk.
Definitely, and it's something that's very personal to, a mother, a baby, but the whole family. Like I'm not breastfeeding anymore. It didn't suit our family after a certain point, and we had to make the decision to formula feed Luke for a while, and it is just about considering everybody's personal options and what's available. Sometimes it can be, it can be a physical thing, it can be an emotional thing, but it really is. It depends. A mother will know its baby, and no mother is going to do something that's not right for them and their family. And it is beyond breast milk is an excellent source of nutrition. Formula feeding, if that's what's right for your family too, is a good source of nutrition too. But if continuing to breastfeed is at the complete detriment of you and your family, how are you going to look after your baby if you're not looking after yourself? But and that, I think, is why the support is so important. If you want to breastfeed and you feel like you need the support to continue doing it, then it's there. But equally, sometimes it's just not the right thing for you and your family, and that's perfectly okay too.
Well put. Thank you so much indeed. Best wishes to Luke and all. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much, Susie there. So just remind us then again, Jan, how people get these supports, or what supports are available to them. Maybe there's someone expectant at the moment, or have a newborn.
Okay, so when a mother delivers in Letterkenny Hospital, they get a pack of information that they need in the first couple of days. And there will be a list of breastfeeding support groups and breastfeeding counsellors, Lalichi League and Cuidiú counsellors across the county that are available by phone, and certainly in Lalichi League case in meetings, support meetings, in-person meetings. I have a Facebook page, Lalichi League, Stranorlar and Letterkenny, and I post there usually once a week about the coffee morning on Thursday mornings. That's open to anyone, past, present or future breastfeeding mum. So if a mum is just pregnant and she's off on a Thursday, come along. Susie said it might be intimidating if there's 20 mums there. Thankfully, there aren't ever 20 mums. I think we got up to a dozen once, but it's usually 3, 4, 5, 6 mums. And they all have been where the new mum coming in the door has been. They've been feeding a tiny baby and wondering, oh my goodness, is everybody looking at me, thinking bad thoughts? Whereas actually, if it's somebody like me, I'm looking at the mum thinking, oh my goodness, I remember what it was like when my baby was like that. And of course, my baby is long grown and gone. But it's the support of mothers doing things together.
And I must ask, and I'm sorry,
having a chat and a coffee, and
I must ask, you know yourself, a lot of people in South Donegal listening to the show have their babies in Sligo. Are you aware of what the situation is there? Because I don't want anyone feeling left out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, there are public health nurse breastfeeding support groups in Sligo, and there I would imagine the same information goes out in the packs. There's also a Friends of Breastfeeding support group. I think it's in Leitrim. But if a mother asks her public health nurse will be able to tell her what's available in her locality.
Lovely stuff. Okay, Jan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Not at all. Thanks
Take care
very
of
much,
yourself.
Greg.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Jan Crombie there, Lalicha League leader in Stranorlar and Letterkenny. We also heard from Susie, mother of Luke, 11 months old now. Okay. A caller says, Jan is a wonderful help to so many breastfeeding mothers in Donegal. I work in healthcare and I've had work colleagues laugh at my choice to breastfeed. Imagine if I laughed at a mother choosing a formula feed. Does that really happen? Okay, I'm sure it does. You said it does. Okay, coming up after 11 o'clock, what's coming up? We have 13 Mary from Dungloe Entrance. They're going to be joining us. So if you are interested in watching that as well, or maybe they've got friends and families from all over the world, because they've come from all over the world, log on to our YouTube channel right now, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch it on your phone, laptop, tablet, your smart TV on the app, or on the Fire Stick. We're also on Facebook, Highland Radio News and Sport, or Highland Hub. And we're on Twitter as well. So that's coming up after 11. There's something else coming up after 11, quite important as well, which I'll mention after the news. It will come to me. But we'll take this break, and then I'll tell you more after.
Are you looking for a career change, or have you always wanted to gain a third-level qualification? At Atlantic Technological University Donegal, we can help you. Study our part-time Bachelor of Business degree using a blend of online and in-person lectures. Build skills in management, leadership, HR, finance, business law, and much more. With advanced entry options available, find out more and apply at atu.ie/business. ATU. Develop the skills you need to stand out.
Michael Henney's summer sale has just gotten bigger and better. Don't miss out on amazing offers with up to 50% now off fashion, kids, home, jewellery and cosmetics. Shop our summer sale in-store at Michael Henney's department store Ballybuffet or online at michaelhenneys.com.
Don't miss the 54th Clonmany Festival open-air concerts, including Mike Denver on Tuesday the 8th of August, and on Wednesday the 9th, it's Derek Ryan. Don't miss these and many more open-air concerts at this year's Clonmany Festival from Sunday the 6th to Sunday the 13th of August. For a full programme, log on to clonmanyfestival.com. This ad is sponsored by Centre Clonmany.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Big Band Country Nights continue at Logues of Cranford this Tuesday with Robert Mazzell and his band. That's another Big Band Country Night this Tuesday with Robert Mazzell at Logues of Cranford, where you will also find music in the Wee Bar on Saturdays and old-time dancing on Sundays.
Oreo the Robot is not just helping staff with service at Kelly's Diner, but he's also adding a little twist to birthdays there. If you're celebrating your birthday at Kelly's, Oreo can be persuaded to sing a very special happy birthday. It's a great treat for small kids and plenty of big kids too. For the chance to see and hear Oreo the Robot in action, visit Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
A caller says, is it just me, but it appears that there's less incentive for people to work nowadays. Bad salaries, poor working conditions, inability for people to connect with each other makes the thought of a working environment unattractive. I know in my place of work, the more you do, the more is expected of you. So why bother? No thanks for turning up. While people who are serial call-in sickers are more thought of. Everyone wants paid €40 an hour, and if they don't get it, simply say it doesn't pay them to work and remain on social welfare. A serious look at a social welfare system needs to happen, they believe. Let me see. Actually, we don't have time for another comment there because it is news time.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon show on Highland Radio.
And we're going to be joined by 13 Marys and others after we get the news headlines now. And we say good morning to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí and the family of a missing Donegal man are extremely concerned for his welfare. 74-year-old Daniel McLaughlin was last seen in his home in Quigley's Point in or around July 7th. He is described as being 6 foot in height with a slim build, grey hair, blue eyes and wears glasses. 2 teenage girls who were killed in County Monaghan last night were on their way to Largy College's school prom. The single vehicle collision happened on the N54 in Legnakelly on the Clonus to Smithborough Road just before 7 p.m. 2 other passengers remain in critical condition and a boy who's aged 18 is being treated for less serious injuries. Gardaí are making a further appeal following a serious assault on a man in Ardra on Saturday night last. It happened on Main Street around 10 o'clock. The victim, a man in his 20s, was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. The development of a Peace Plus local community action plan for Donegal is a step closer after Donegal County Council confirmed this week it's now moving on to stage 3 of the process. This will involve a further public consultation before the final plan is submitted by December. And finally, investigations are ongoing following an act of criminal damage at a school in the Glencar Irish area of Letterkenny on Thursday night last. At around 11:45pm, the glass in a door at the premises was smashed by a rock. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who witnessed the group of youths in the area or anyone who is driving around the area and may have dashcam footage to get in touch. Those are the latest headlines. The next news update is at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
You could be in Spain. Feels like 40 degrees. Most likely 18. I know the feeling. There's no breeze today. Not a bit. Oh, some sun cream in the eye there. Here, a little help. And it's raining. The Irish weather isn't for everyone, but energy from Flowgas is. Order your solar panels through Flowgas for as little as €5,500, so you can start saving on your electricity and do your bit to help the environment too. To start your solar energy journey, visit flowgas.ie. Flowgas. Energy for everyone. Terms and conditions apply. Price inclusive of an SEAI grant of €2,400.
That's good to hear. All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 Till Noon show, and our focus now is on the Mary from Dungloe International Arts Festival, because we are just a few short days away from the Mary from Dungloe Crowning Cabaret, which takes place on Sunday the 6th of August at 6:30pm. It's 1 year ago, bar the shouting, since the person sitting in front of me, Caitlin Finn, was crowned Mary from Dungloe. Caitlin, how are you getting on?
I'm all the best, Greg. How are you?
Thank you very much indeed. And a shout out for your colour coordination.
Thank you very much.
Full marks. It has
Island
to be
Radio
said.
colours today.
Exactly, purple and green. How has your year been?
Absolutely amazing. I've had so many opportunities and met so many people that I just never ever thought I would meet. The opportunities I've been granted are just out of this world. There are no words. Incredible, amazing, fantastic. It's really all I can say.
Yeah, and you are a very busy person as well.
Yeah.
So you've been fleeting here and there. The crown, the sash has been out, but all at the while, having to get on with the day-to-day stuff as well. So tell people who don't know what you've been involved in or what you are involved in and what you're elected to.
Yeah, so in February
no notes, by the way. I'm doing this without notes, okay? This is all in my head. Impressive or what?
In February last year, I was elected as Student Life President of St Mary's University, Twickenham. A lot of people in Ireland know it as Strawberry Hill. I was the first female ever to get that position, and I'm really glad to say that I've been re-elected. So up until the 1st of July next year, I will still be the Student Life President. The union have raised over £10,000 for charity this year. I introduced RAG Week, which is Raise and Give Week, and we raised £4,528 in that week for Ordinary to Extraordinary, which is an amazing charity.
Fantastic.
So,
I mean, obviously the entire experience is amazing. Is it
absolutely
possible for you to pick out the highlight from the last year for yourself?
Somebody else asked me this week, and I said it's not one big thing. It's all the tiny little things that people do. I think it's one thing people asking for a picture with you, and people asking if you can just stand in front of their camera so that they have their own picture of you is a whole other experience. Seeing my face on the side of the road going into Dungloe was just incredible. Because
people may not be aware, like, you've been around the Mary from Dungloe, you've been involved with it, do you know what I mean? You were a familiar face to the organisers and what have you, and you won this on merit, of course, but it kind of completed a story to some extent, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a real full circle moment, I think. Some of the Mary organisers have known me since I was 16 now, so it's lovely to go from taking the pictures, as Daniel said, the night of the crowning cabaret, taking the pictures to taking the crown. Is just amazing.
Yeah, and you've been imparting your advice presumably on this year's entrance as well, and you're seeing that, aren't you? That their experience growing the same experience you had, because it's more than just the cabaret; it's a whole week of events and the bonding and what have you.
Well, they're the most amazing bunch of girls. They're all so good to each other, all looking out for each other, and I think the video that went up yesterday of us at Glengesh Pass singing "We're All in This Together" from High School Musical just summed it up perfectly. We're all helping each other.
I was wondering what was behind that wall, though. That slightly worried me. But, I presume health and safety was all followed and what have you. Of course it was. I'm only joking. Yeah. We also have Lena O'Donnell in with us. Hi, Lena. How are you getting on?
Great. How are you?
It's great to have you in. How are you enjoying your experience? Tell us what's written on your sash, Little Miss Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, I can just see over this monitor. How has your week been so far?
Very good. It's been very fun hanging out with all the Marys.
Yeah. And what's been your favourite part so far? Just getting to know people and
getting to know people, and we went to Sleeve League yesterday. It was very fun.
Cool. Yeah, brilliant pictures. And when were you crowned Little Miss Mary? Is it recently? It's this week, isn't it?
No, it was Saturday, the day before me.
So you're ending your...
Yeah.
Oh, of course, right. So you have to hand over your sash and everything. How's that feel? How's the year been for you?
Very fun, and...
Yeah. And what did all your friends think of you being Little Miss Mary?
I think it's wonderful, and I think a couple of them are going to enter it this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you like to be like Caitlin and maybe be the full... Is it the full Mary? I don't know how you describe it. The grown-up Mary.
We've been calling
the grown-up Mary. Okay, that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And are you going to be sad to not be Little Miss... You'll always be Little Miss Mary, but are you going to be sad not to be the official current one?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Someone told me I had to ask you about a video you made. What's that about?
I made a video kind of just about my year and how it's been, and then some of my hobbies.
Okay, and where can people see that?
Facebook, I think it's on.
On the Mary from Dungloe Facebook, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, it's come to the end of a year. You're much bigger now than you were last year. I didn't even recognise you. It's amazing how it goes. Okay, Lena, and we hope your successor does as good a job as you have done. Also in studio with us is the legend that is Mary Ward, coordinator of Mary from Dungloe International Arts Festival. Mary, back for another year, another crop of amazing people. How's it been so far?
Absolutely amazing. As Caitlin said, they're a wonderful bunch of young women, and they look out for each other, but they're also great fun. We had a great time yesterday. Mary Rogers, of course, whipped up her usual band and we sang and danced, and they nearly all play an instrument. So we had a wonderful time and are going to have an even better time as the week goes on.
Yes, of course, because the Crowning Cabaret is on Sunday, compared by Daniel O'Donnell. He is an international superstar, and no one does it better than Daniel, I don't think. He's just got a certain way with him for that stage, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And we had the most wonderful day in Dungloe last Sunday because it rained, and we were lucky enough to be able to go indoors this year because a lot of the businesses in Dungloe have marquees on their premises and have music all week. So if it rains again, which we won't even use the word during the week, all events will go into the marquees in the town.
Brilliant.
And Daniel was absolutely, and all his guests on Sunday, and the Marys went up and sang with him, and they had a wonderful time.
Yeah, it is an amazing experience, isn't it? By the way, the crowning will be streamed live on the TG Cahir Player on the night too, which is fantastic exposure as well, isn't it?
Worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, so it's wonderful.
Excellent. There'll be big viewership figures for that, no doubt. Good to see TG Cahir coming on board and supporting something like this.
Yes, it is. It's great to have, community, because in Dungloe we consider TG Cahir our station. Of
course it is, yeah.
And a community. So it's wonderful to have them on board.
Yeah.
And we have so many wonderful things going on during the week. Tonight, well, of course, we'll have the very popular Cope Fashion Show in the Waterfront Hotel. And we have an amazing event on later tonight. I hope all the mammy and daddies allow their children to stay up. We were listening to your conversation earlier. And we're going to have at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 10, we're going to have an illuminated sculpture trail.
Oh, wow.
On Tierna Dreachta, which is the Riverwalk in Dungloe. And all kinds of fairies and illuminated sculptures are going to come alive to the backdrop of the full moon tonight. So
sounds beautiful, yeah. There's a great mix of different things, isn't there?
A great mix of different things, and I think the theme of our festival this year, as always, is children, to have a children and family orientated. And tomorrow, of course, we'll have our Children's Fun Day, sponsored by Super Value in the GA grounds in Dungloe. And the entrance will be from the Super Value car park. The entrance into the Fun Day will be. And then my big night is tomorrow night. I'm going to see Ronan Collins.
That is going to be a cracker, that one.
Oh, that's going to be an absolute cracker. And I would advise, I'm going out with my girlfriends and we're going to dine first. And I would advise anybody in Dungloe that's thinking of dining before the show to make reservations, because it's very busy, especially.
I need someone as practical as you in my life, Mary.
You have.
Well, maybe.
You have.
It's just I need someone to make bookings for me. You know, you're right. You're spot. That's going to be brilliant. I wonder are there any tickets left, because it's celebrating the show band era. Ronan Collins is singing all the big songs. Sandy
Kelly is going to be there, of course. Brendan Shine is going to be there, and all Ronan's the
Conquerors, which are hugely popular bands still, of course. All right, listen, brilliant stuff, Mary. You got all the plugs in, except for the 9 Till Noon show being broadcast live.
On Friday.
And David James being broadcast live on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's from 3. Is it 2 to 5 on Wednesday?
I don't know. Once it comes 12 o'clock, I don't care what anyone else does. No, it is. It's 2:30 to 5 on Wednesday.
2:30 to 5.
And I'm there from 9 till 12. So
9
on Friday.
On Friday,
so,
yeah.
And good buzz around Dungloe as always, Caitlin.
Yes, absolutely. The girls and I walked up the main street on Saturday when they first arrived, and just calling into all the local businesses. Yeah. They were so appreciative of seeing all the Marys, and everyone who saw the Marys talking about the fact they saw the Marys. I think it's unusual.
There's nothing like it either. I think there's just something.
Exactly.
There's something about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been lovely seeing you again, Caitlin.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your year, Lena. How are you? Still over there? Do you want to say hello to anyone or say anything? Not ask a question you think I should have asked? I did all right. Did all right. Well done, Lena. And enjoy your last couple of days.
Thank you.
And whoever follows you has a tough act to follow, because you've done a fantastic job. And Mary Ward, of course, not the last time we've spoken to you over the course of the week, but thank you very much for calling in. We do appreciate it. And we will begin chatting to some of the contestants. The contestants' entrance of this year's Mary from Dungloe International Arts Festival after we take this break.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 Till Noon show on Highland Radio.
Get great menswear at greatly reduced prices in the big summer sale now on at Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Brands like Superdry, Penguin, Sixth Sense, Andre and Casamoda, all with 20% off. Choose from a selection of shirts, polos and t-shirts with up to 50% off. Suits also up to 50% off. And many more great savings throughout in the big summer sale now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and at watsonmenswear.com.
Over recent months, we've all been dealing with the reality of rising energy costs, and we've all been making changes to reduce our energy use. However, if you are having trouble paying your energy bills, be sure to talk to your supplier as soon as possible. There are a range of protections in place for customers. Organisations such as MABS and Alone can also help. For information on these and all other supports available, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Get a great Clarence gift this week from McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Buy 2 Clarence skincare products, one to be moisturiser or serum, and you'll get a choice of 3 treat-sized essentials from a selection of 10. Which 3 will you choose? This great Clarence offer is available while stocks last, in-store at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less. For any skincare advice, call in and talk to the resident skincare consultants, Mary or Gemma.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 11:15. In studio with me are the Bayonne Mary, Shannon Neary. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for calling in. Over here.
Hi.
Yeah,
How are
okay.
you?
Good, thank you. The Belfast Mary, Roisin Costello. Hiya, Mary. Mary. Hiya, Roisin. How are you keeping?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good to have you in with us. And the Birmingham Mary, Katie Houston. How are you getting on, Katie?
I'm good, thanks.
Good stuff. Shannon, why did you decide to enter?
Well, I grew up attending my hometown Bayonne's Mary Selection for as long as I can remember. And when Bayonne took a little hiatus from COVID, I kind of forgot about it until this past January when the selection was, and I was asked if I potentially wanted to do it. And I was like, you know what? Why not?
And what's your connections, if any, to Ireland or to Donegal?
Yeah. So my dad is from County Mayo. He came to the United States when he was 21, about 36 years ago. And ever since, I grew up very immersed in my Irish heritage. My family and I would come to Ireland every summer or holiday we can. This is actually my 15th time in Ireland this summer.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have a very deep connection to my Irish heritage.
What are you studying at the moment?
I just graduated from college. I graduated from a small school called the College of New Jersey, and I have a degree in communications with a double minor in music and speech and language therapy.
All right, and what do you want to do with that, Shannon?
Right now, I'm going to be substitute teaching at a school come September because I love to work with kids, and I just want to see what my options are and see if maybe teaching or speech therapy is my route or anything that helps kids in some form.
Yeah, well, you have that luxury, don't you? Because of the course allows you to choose your path as you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
All
it's
right,
great.
excellent. But you get a great deal of satisfaction working with young people, I take it.
Yeah, I was a swim coach and a swim instructor for a long time, and just the joy of seeing kids impress and like evolve with their skills over a period of time is just so rewarding to see you make that impact on their lives.
All right, okay. And it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Belfast Mayor Roisin Costello, your interest in law and politics, that's what you're studying at the moment.
Yeah, so I recently just graduated from law and politics, actually. So I spent 3 years up at Queen's University Belfast and I graduated there. But I've accepted an unconditional offer for international commercial and business law at Queen's. I'll be going back again in September to do my master's.
And you are also a cheerleader as well, are you?
Yeah, so
How do you combine those two?
So it's just really random, actually. So see, my first year in halls, I was put beside a girl who I'm now best friends with. We were the exact same course, room neighbours, and she told me about cheerleading. But I was too late to apply the first year, so I was gutted because I love the film Bring It On. Like, I watched it, I was like, this is my dream. Yeah. I need to do this. Because like I had like juvenile osteoporosis growing up, so I had to give up sports. So
and what is that, sorry, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no,
because it's a good opportunity to get a bit of awareness out there at the same time, isn't it?
See, when I was about was it between 9 and 11, basically, I wasn't really doing anything to like have a break, and then like I was just getting injured, and then like I had a wee fall and I'd break 2 bones, and I was like, what's up with this? So then we went to like the hospital and all this, and like it did a lot of tests and all that, and then they turned out I have idiopathic juvenile osteoporosis, so they couldn't actually tell me why I had it. Because like a lot of my aunties would have it, but they're in their 60s, whereas I was like 10. Yeah. So it's a big difference.
Big shock for a 10-year-old too, and heading into your...
I love sports. Like, I did sports like 5 days a week. I was in Ross SE, I was in Newara. Like, is there anything I could do? I would have done it. So I like didn't do sports, so I started back at cheerleading because I was like, this is like a dream. Like, I need to do it. So then I joined Knights October 2021. And I signed up with a cast on my foot because I also broke something before that. And I was like, here, I know I have a cast, but like, could I do it? And Hannah was like, oh my God, no, of course, just sign up. And I was like, oh my God, this is class. So then I started cheer then, and I pure love it.
All right, so you determined or stubborn or both?
I've had both. Like, you know, it depends. Like, my group is like a great group. Like, we always had our stunts. Like, we just keep going till we get it. Like, I may have been concussed, have costochondritis. I have other injuries, but I haven't broken a bone because of cheer yet.
Good stuff. All right,
yeah.
And you're enjoying this week so far, is it?
Oh, I'm loving it. Like, it's so good.
Had you any experience of it before at all? Or?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Meenalek. So I grew up in the Rosses. Like, I went to school in the Rosses.
So you know all about it?
I know all about it. Like, my cousin was the 2014 New York Marys, and I was talking to her about it. Like, every year I would go to the festival. Like, you look up to the Marys, you want to be a Mary. So the fact I'm a Mary now and I get to experience it, it's surreal. Like, it actually is amazing. Like, just can't get over it. It's way better than you could have ever expected.
Wow, I'm delighted to hear that. Katie Houston's 22 and is the Birmingham Mary as well. Katie, how are you getting on? Thanks so much for calling in. You're enjoying the week so far?
Yeah.
It's whirlwind, isn't it? It's busy. I know, speaking to people in the past, it's tiring and you have to keep going, and there's that expectation, and it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no stopping.
In a good way, tough in a good way. You are already working in the construction industry, and just looking through some of your notes. I mean, obviously, you know, being a woman in the construction industry, there are trailblazers. It's not as uncommon as it used to be, but it still is not necessarily the norm. Do you find that? Yeah.
I think it's different now, but you still, like, a lot of your leadership teams are all male, but you'll get the odd one or two, which is good. They're great role models, but there's still a long way to go in the construction industry, I believe.
Yeah, and I think you have a really important role as a STEM ambassador, and I presume you're promoting gender diversity, showing people the pathway. If you can see, you can be it. That type of stuff, is that important to you?
Yeah, because I started my job so I was an apprentice to start off with, so I didn't do the typical university route. So I think being a STEM ambassador to promote apprenticeships is so important, just because I probably wouldn't be where I am without my apprenticeship and all the experience that I've got from it. So it's just quite important to me, and trying to get a bit more diversity into the industry and learn, because having more diversity into the industry will help us overcome problems that maybe the older generation may not be able to overcome, and just thinking of new ways to think.
New set of eyes, new approach. I mean, it has to be, and I really think the thankfully this country is waking up to alternative ways of achieving what you want to achieve, and there's a much greater focus now here in Ireland on apprenticeships and what have you. So that's great. It's great to see. So, what is your connection with this area, the festival? How did you get roped into it?
So my mum is Roscommon, my dad is Dungloe, but my granddad was from Buttonport.
Right.
And my granny's from Armagh, so there was that connection to Dungloe.
Oh, you couldn't get much closer connection to Dungloe. Yeah.
My granddad was a massive fan of the festival. He passed away in 2020, but he would try and he'd get to the festival every year from Birmingham, and just seeing him there, and he always enjoyed it. So kind of just want to get involved.
Yeah, I think you probably, as a wee eye, and you're very proud at the moment, would you say?
I hope so.
All right, okay. Listen, we wish you every, I was going to say success, but it's the whole experience is what's really, truly important, isn't it? Katie Houston, thank you so much indeed. Roisin Costello and Shannon Neary, all three of you, thank you so much for calling in. All right, brilliant. We are going to be joined now very shortly by our next three Marys. We'll take a very quick break and then we'll do that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
When you want to get the job done, you need Screwfix. Need something fast? Easy. With Screwfix, you can click and collect in as little as 1 minute. Need it early or late? We hear you. With 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. opening weekdays and early opening on weekends, we don't clock off till you do. Simply shop online at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions.
The Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are on the road once again. Tune in this Wednesday at 2:30 for the Jive Time show with David James, and Friday morning for Greg Hughes and the 9 Till Noon show, with both shows live from the heart of the 56th Mary from Dungloe International Festival to celebrate their fun-filled programme of events. Check out the full lineup on maryfromdunloe.ie. Brought to you in association with Kavanagh's SuperValue Dungloe.
Okay, we are back with our next batch of entrants into the Mary from Dungloe, and we'll start with the Gaeltacht Mary. Rihanna McGilbride. Nick, 1 second. I'm not finished my guesses.
Sorry.
All right, I'm not finished my guesses. Come here, Rihanna. It's lovely to have you in. Thank you so much for joining us. The Gaeltacht Mary, obviously a great interest in Irish. Obviously.
Yes, I've grown up in the Gaeltacht and I've been speaking it my whole life. I've actually learned Irish before I had English.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you schooled in Irish, and then so your first language, are you kind of translating as you're speaking to me now?
No,
Always fascinates me, that stuff.
I'm used to the two languages now. I went to primary school, it was all Irish, secondary school, it was all Irish, and then when I went to college, it was all in English, so it was a big change for me, and it kind of took me a while to get used to doing science in English, which was a bit difficult, but...
Yeah, and you hope to go on and focus on disease treatment and prevention. So in what area, or how do you what would be a job that would fulfil that ambition of yours?
Well, I have quite an interest in Alzheimer's disease and certain types of cancer as well, so I'd love to go down one of those routes and maybe do a bit of research and treatment, preventatives, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, which you'd have taken a great interest in the recent advances in terms of potential Alzheimer's treatments and what have you. And we have a great history here in Donegal too in terms of cancer research as well. Letterkenny University Hospital doing great stuff there. Sporty, into your music. What's your favourite thing to do outside of your study and what have you?
One of my favourite things to do is to play Gaelic football with my local club, Gweedore, CLG Gweedore. We have a great bunch of girls down there, the senior ladies football team. It's like a wee family down there. It's lovely. It's a nice break from the real world.
Yeah, I know. It comes at you quick, doesn't it? The real world. It's a nightmare. All right, Glasgow Mary's Caitlin Edelston. Yeah. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you decide to get involved in this festival?
So I've been growing up coming back over to Ireland for the last, since I was born. And this is my 20th year in Dungloe for the festival, just every year. My granny's from Burtonport, and my other granny was from Gweedore, so just growing up going to the two places and always being around the festival. And then I got asked if I'd be interested, and of course it was an honour, so I'm just buzzing to be a part of it. Yeah.
And you continue the tradition of being a world-class Irish dancer as well. There's so many Marys over the years.
I don't know about world-class.
Well, it says here, you're a world medal holder.
Yeah.
It's world-class.
Okay, well, I'll take that. That's
just official. There's a medal just to prove it. Okay. And also an interest in music, traditional music. Would you describe it as?
Yeah, I played with Frank McCardle at St Rock's.
Fantastic.
In Glasgow for a good few years. Travelled to London and Preston for All Britain's Fla and things like that, so I loved it.
Fantastic. Now, everyone says they know in advance that there's these bonds that form and it's a wonderful experience and you make new friends, and genuinely people make friends for life. Has that surprised you as to how that kind of forms and the bonds that you make and how much you enjoy this experience with the other entrants?
Well, honestly, going into it, I was a wee bit nervous because, you know what, it can be like all female environments, but I think we were all so lucky. Like, the girls are absolutely amazing. Everyone is just on the same level and we all just get along so well. It's great.
All right, okay, brilliant. The Wild Atlantic Mary is Aoibhinn O'Dea, is that correct, Aoibhinn?
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur.
I suppose so, yeah.
Well, why will no one back up what they are? Of course you are. Talk to us about your entrepreneurship.
I started a bakery business in Gweedore. So myself and Ryan are actually both from Gweedore, but both situated on the Wild Atlantic Way as well. But I started a bakery business unofficially when I was about 13 years old as a bit of a passion project, a way to earn some pocket money. And from that, I suppose the business that I now have today grew. I supply coffee shops all over the county here, and I'm also doing a bunch of occasional cakes for the likes of weddings and other celebrations. So yeah, I suppose it was just I had a bit of a backbone in my house with support from my family. My dad runs his own businesses. Brilliant. And he was like a 24/7 mentor to me, I suppose. And
you have a big interest in social media and marketing, do you as well?
Yeah.
How important has that been in terms of growing the business and sort of maybe you being able to achieve what you want to achieve, get your products out there, getting the messaging out there?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge part of anybody who's starting or running a business, to be trying to get your brand out there and speak to your audience and stuff. And I've had the experience of doing that with my own business, even when I'm travelling from place to place trying to learn about other cultures, other foods. It's lovely to connect with your audience and make sure that they know what you're learning and what you're doing all the time. And also then with my dad's businesses as well, I've had the opportunity to kind of come on board on his social marketing team as well.
Yeah, and exploring other parts of the world, other cultures is important to you,
absolutely.
Isn't it?
I think there's something to learn everywhere, and I'd have a huge interest in going travelling to different parts of the world and learning about their cultures and foods as well.
Excellent stuff. The Philadelphia Philadelphia Mary is Anne-Marie Caffrey Mantai.
Mantai.
And where's that surname from?
Germany.
Okay, Mantai.
Yes.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Anne-Marie.
I'm 22 years old. I am representing Philadelphia, and I just graduated university. I attended Villanova University right outside of Philadelphia, and I studied Irish studies while I was there.
And how's your experience been so far?
It's been fabulous. I've had the best few days ever, and I'm really excited to continue on the week and keep seeing all of lovely Donegal
And have you already sort of, do you know, like the Spice Girls, you had Sporty Spice, you know, and all this kind of stuff. Have you worked out who the Spices are, like Angry Spice, Singing Spice, Moody Spice, Happy Spice? No, I forget the word Spice, but have you sort of figured all that, who's everyone's personality traits?
No, I think we're all still learning each other a little bit, but
It'll
we're
come.
all...
Family and friends and travel are important to you, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes. I have such a wonderful support system, and I'm very lucky my mother was able to join me here in Donegal with me.
Oh, that's lovely. So it's an experience for her as well.
Yes, yes. I'm not sure who's having more fun, her or me.
It's normally the mum. The momager.
Yes, she's my momager for sure.
Okay. Right, and what is your Irish connections, if any? Or maybe you're just part of the Irish community over in Philly, or maybe you're not. I don't know. Tell us.
My grandfather's family is from Ireland, so his mother is from County Mayo, and then his father was adopted, so we're not quite sure exactly where in Ireland he's from, but we know that it's the Gaeltacht in this region, so it's
all right, brilliant.
Special to be here.
All right, fantastic stuff. And you're all looking forward to Sunday. I presume you are, Rihanna, as well. I mean, that's the big night, isn't it?
That is the big night. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I didn't ask anyone about party pieces or anything, so maybe it's not fair. But anyone got anything interesting here? Well, they're all interesting, but anyone's going to stand on their head.
Well, I think with all the Marys...
you're going to have to bake, are you going to bake? They're always hilarious. Like I saw one to do with eggs, and I don't know. It's a lot of eggs.
Get a bit messy.
There was a lot, well, Daniel seems to love that, but anyway.
Well, throughout all the Marys anyway, there's a whole bunch of different, I suppose, talents amongst us.
Of course.
We had a lovely day yesterday. We were down in Teelan and we were visiting, Sheave League. We spent some time in Glencullen, and we had a lovely afternoon then in the Rusty Mackerel where we all kind of had a bit of a sing-song. We have a few singers, a few musicians amongst us, a few dancers.
And it's just so nice to see all the girls coming together, and you can see the confidence coming out during the week, and people are stepping up and singing and playing their instruments, and it's just so nice.
Yeah,
it's a real growth spurt in life, isn't it?
Because you can
it's
put
just
the
completely
talents
different.
together as well, so it comes together. It's like one big
if I'm not mistaken, I think last year, I don't know if it was on the Friday or the Sunday, there was sort of like a collaboration between all the Marys. I don't know if that set a tone, if you have to come up with something or not, I don't know. But anyway, either way, Rihanna, Caitlin, Avin and Anne-Marie, it's been great having you in, and we look forward to seeing you over the course of the week. Thank you very much indeed. All right, okay, we are bringing in our next entrance now. If you want to say hello or pass on any comments or say anything, you know the numbers, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. All right, now our next guests are taking their seats, and obviously Caroline's banged all the cameras again, but anyway, sure, look, I'll fix that. Cavan Mary, Katie Galligan, good morning to you. How are you getting on? Good to have you in. Thanks for having me. Where are you? You're over there. Okay, that's the second time I've got that all wrong. How are you keeping?
Good, yeah. How are you?
I'm doing all right, okay. You're a primary school teacher already.
Yeah, well, I've just qualified for Marino there in May, so I've got a job in Portlaoise, in the Girls' School of Portlaoise now for August.
Right, okay. And it's all about getting your position full term or whatever.
Yeah, so I got a fixed term post, so it's great. I don't have to worry about it's not a maternity contract. I don't have to worry about getting a job in January. I'm there for the year.
Fantastic.
August,
you blazed a bit of a trail, didn't you, in becoming a first at the Merino Institute?
Yeah, it was the first year of the course, yeah, so there was only 35 of us, I think, that actually did it. So it's great to have the teaching degree through the medium of Irish now, yeah.
And you're another musician with a musical background as well. There'll be some parties with you lot, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's the Mary Band that's what we're calling ourselves.
And you're a member of a choir as well, so very musical.
Yeah, exactly.
And why did you decide to get involved in this?
Well, to be honest, I'll be completely honest, I actually never heard of the competition before.
Good, honesty's good, we like it. We need more of it.
Yeah, there's a lovely friend of ours at home, Maeve Sheridan, actually has a house up in Meena Cross, and Gavin asked her, will we get a Cavan Mary? And she just said, yeah, Katie Galligan will do it. So I must have volunteer scraped across my forehead or something. She just knew I was right for the job, so she put me in for it, and yeah, now we're here.
And no regrets.
No regrets, absolutely. We've been having an absolute ball. It's amazing, and it's so nice. All the girls in the house, we're having such crack, and everybody's so lovely, and it's just so lovely to be here.
Donegal Mary is Christina Gallagher. It's great to have you in studio with us as well, Christina. How are you keeping?
I'm good, thanks, Craig. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just wonder, Christina, at this point, are you just enjoying it, or would you be nervous about Sunday, because that's when you have to get up on stage and it's being broadcast around the world? I'm not trying to make you nervous, but listen, it is what it is. Or you're just living in the moment as it's, because the week must be flying.
Yeah, it's going really fast. I would say I was more nervous on like Friday and Saturday before I'd met the rest of the girls and kind of knew what we were doing and stuff every day. But since I've met the girls and spent more time with them, I think everyone's more relaxed, and as the other girls were saying, like the confidence is growing a wee bit more. So I think we're all just excited for Sunday now. Like it'll be bittersweet because
you're all each other's sports network, a support network, aren't you? Really,
exactly.
In a way, isn't that the way
it's
it works?
so nice to have everyone. So I'd say I'm less nervous now, definitely.
And you have a really important job in that you're a full-time speech and language therapist with in a specialist area. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually work in the Letterkenny Primary Care Centre, just with kids probably from the age of like 2 to 18. So I see them every day, Monday to Friday. I love it in there. Yeah, it's great. It's just great seeing the kids coming in and making the progress.
And you've been with the Termon GA Club since the age of 6.
Yeah.
And do you still play?
Gaelic. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I took a few years off whenever I was in college, but I came back to it now, and it's so nice to be back with like all the girls that kind of went away to college at the same time, and we're all back now, and like just playing with your neighbours and going for cups of tea in their house after. It's such a good network of friends to have.
And
like,
a bit of an opportunity to switch up, because like a lot of people's employment and their studies at the moment, it's quite intense, isn't it? So you need those outlets just to...
Definitely, yeah, you do.
Right, okay. Our Dubai Mary is Adele Morgan. How are you getting on, Adele? Great to have you on the programme as well.
Hi there, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Are you obviously living and working in Dubai at the moment?
Yes.
Originally from where, Adele?
Originally from Glasgow. So I moved out to Dubai last year to teach. So I'm now teaching out in Dubai.
How are you enjoying it?
Oh, I love it. It's a different world. It's a totally different experience, environment, but it's so worthwhile. So,
it really is different, isn't it? You're racking up the debt.
No,
people anyone I've spoken to over there, they come home like late with tons of debt because they're...
If you do it right, you don't need to. Yeah, you can find the events that aren't as expensive. Yeah.
And we'll not get into the big ings and outs of it, but people in the teaching profession are treated very different there. There's a great deal of thanks and respect and little gestures that you don't see in Britain or Ireland, if the truth be told.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience teaching in Dubai. The children are great. They're so enthusiastic to learn, and the parents are so appreciative. The amount of thanks you get over there, it's
you're held on a pedestal, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. You really are treated really well. Even in the community, you're respected and you're put in a position of trust and authority, which is lovely. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, I would say.
It's really rewarding to have.
And how long do you think you'll stay there for? I know the way the contracts are awarded, you can't say 10 years as such, but you could see your future out there, at least in the short to medium term.
Yeah, you can have a rolling contract. My contract just now is for 2 years, so I'll definitely be there next year. I'll definitely be for 2 years. However, I think after the 2 years, I think I'll go home.
Have you managed to sign anyone up for the Dubai life yet?
I have. I've been trying to tell everyone to come over. Definitely, all the girls are welcome for a holiday. You can stay with me anytime they like.
That's recorded now.
That is, as we say in media circles, on the record. That's a verbal contract. And just briefly too, then you've developed an interest in sign language.
Yeah.
What's that about, or how did that develop, or what happened, or what did you see that made you?
Yeah, so I was actually born with right side unilateral microtia, which is a deformation of my ear. So I was born with lesser hearing, so with hearing impairment. So I don't need sign language personally. However, as I've grown older, I've realised that I don't have a disability, but I have an ability to help educate people and just promote the importance of inclusion and helping to encourage other people. I've been developing Makaton in school. I've been helping to promote that in my classroom. And Makaton isn't just for children who are deaf or hearing impaired, it's for children who don't have ability to speak as well. So I think it's really important to promote that inclusion, not just for children who maybe have hearing loss, but also just for all children, to help build that additional language. It's a language that you don't need speech to have, so anyone can develop the skill. Yeah,
for sure. Normalises it as well. Okay, brilliant stuff. Thanks very much, Adele. It's been lovely having you in studio with us, as it has you, Christina Gallagher, Katie Galligan. Any of you got any things you're going to do on Sunday that can be revealed? No?
Nice, you'll have to come and see.
Yeah,
You'll have to get your tickets.
I'm going to go and I'm going to see. I hope, are the tickets still available? I wonder, we must check that actually. I think that might have been, I think it might be sold out. Anyway, I don't want to. I think it was really quite quickly, wasn't it? Okay. But it's available, just to remind you, to stream on the TG Cahir player. Cavan Mary, Katie Galligan, Donegal Mary, Christina Gallagher, and Adele Morgan, the Dubai Mary. Thank you very much indeed for calling in. We really do appreciate it. We'll speak to 3 more entrants after these.
Hi, Tarcum. Or I vis got gur chusan mé na rebelúnig san éirí amach. Cúg siad I bhulach leistír dím. Tarcar im of Ricky go fáil. Muckle. Da mé a caint ag na bailí seo, níos stoppadís go Joe.
Seachtain náisiúnta na haireachta, fud na tíre idir an dair lá déag agus an fichiú lúnasa, tiile heritageweek.ie. Cláid a chuid de cóil aireachta le takeíocht ón líonra ifiga aireachta agus an rion tííochta rialta seo túil agus aireachta.
Waterworld Bundoran is back and it's open every day for summer 2023. Experience the 3-lane multi-slide, the Whizzer, the Wave Pool and Rapids, the Twister, Tornado and Gravity Speed Slides, the Pirates Galleon Ship, as well as our brand new gift shop. Booking essential. Get your tickets now at waterworldbundoran.com/booking and find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
All right, big congratulations to all the ladies, but a huge good luck to Glasgow Mary, Caitlin. Lots of love from Orla Henderson, her wee dancing buddy. Say hello to the Dungloe Mary, Caitlin McCahill. We're so proud of you. Love, Mum and family. Isn't that nice, Caitlin? And the timing was perfect as well, just as you took your seat. The pressure's on, local Mary, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Or maybe the pressure's off. Who's to say?
Do you know what? Like, it's been so nice just being able to show the girls around Dungloe and Donegal.
Because your role ends up being a little bit different because it's a journey of discovery for everybody else, but for you, obviously, it's all familiar territory.
Yeah, so like yesterday, do you know, we were up at Sleeve League and a lot of the girls hadn't been there before, and obviously it's such an amazing place.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, it's so nice to like show them all the different places because we're so proud of where we live. You know, we live in such a beautiful place. And
how did you get involved in an interest in crocheting?
Do you know what? I pick wee things up on YouTube. Like, sometimes I'm just bored in my room. Like, that's where I learned to play the guitar as well, just on YouTube. Like, I just pick up random things, but I actually do love crocheting now.
But you love a Celtic you didn't pick out from YouTube. That came from the family, didn't
No,
it?
that came definitely from my dad and my brothers. Like, my dad, since he was young, he was born in Glasgow, so he has always been very, very, very passionate about Celtic. So
that was unavoidable.
No, it was unavoidable. But
And you know, you talked about your love of the area and your pride and the beauty of it, and you do efforts to keep it that way as well, don't you? You can be quite active out and about and clean-ups and what have you.
Yeah. So
is that here or where you live? Oh, you live here?
So I'm from Letcher originally. So we do have a development committee in Letcher. So it's nice when I'm home from college to join in the clean-ups, and we've also recently been trying to get our health centre reopened as well. So I was on the committee for that as well. And we've actually gotten a commitment now to get it reopened by the HSE, which is just brilliant.
And your wish is to become an occupational therapist?
Yeah, so I've started studying in Galway to be an OT. So I just started last year. So I suppose I got into it because I want to work with people who have mental health difficulties. That's where I'd like to specialise, and I was able to do my placement in Scally Place in Letterkenny.
Brilliant,
so
excellent. So you didn't have
really
too far
that.
to travel.
Yeah,
right. Fantastic
yeah.
stuff. Our Dublin Mary is Danielle Varley. Danielle, thank you very much for joining us. How are you keeping?
Thanks for having me. Good, very good.
Good stuff. All right. We've been talking an awful lot about going on to third level and what people are doing. You had to make a different decision, or you chose to make a different decision in your life after your leaving cert, didn't you?
Yeah, so I didn't go to college. I went straight into work in restaurants, and I stayed...
Same here.
...in restaurants and waitressing and
Just
everything.
might as well be honest.
Yeah.
You know?
And I then became a manager and then of a restaurant, and in COVID then everything shut,
Oh,
obviously.
right,
So I changed altogether, and now I'm working in logistics and freight forwarding.
Right. And what does that, people say logistics, is that problem solving, fixing things? What?
It's getting something from A to B, so shipments and like organising transport and everything like that, and declaring the stuff coming into the country.
And Danielle, how did you end up getting involved in this festival?
My family is big into the country music anyway,
Lovely.
so they would have like known about it. I wouldn't have really known about it, but they would have been big into the country. So my mum, my nanny, put me forward and told me I was going to be Dublin Mary. So yeah, I have to give a big shout out to my nanny because she's obsessed with Daniel O'Donnell as well. So
yeah, well, you entered the right festival if you've got an obsession with Daniel O'Donnell, haven't you?
I couldn't let her down, so I had to. So
This one's for you, Nanny.
Yeah.
All right, okay. But you're enjoying it, of course.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. The girls are lovely and we've had a great experience. It's brilliant, like for everything, just to get out and see like a family from Letterkenny and Johnsborough in Newry, so I've never kind of been down this side of it, so it's amazing to see.
Yeah. Now you've got itchy feet, haven't you? You're hoping to do a bit of that means you're going to go travelling. You're looking at me as if why is he talking about my feet? It's an old saying, sorry. You've itchy feet to go travelling. You've got big plans for that into the future.
I want to go and just see the world and everything. Like
Anywhere in particular?
Not really, just a bit of everywhere, kind of.
Yeah.
Like just,
Yeah, I get you. Kiara O'Connor is the New York Mary. How did I do, Kiara?
Hello there.
It's a American take on your name, Kiara.
Yes.
It's lovely. You must spend most of your life telling people that, though, do you?
Yes, I do. And honestly, I usually don't correct people. They call me Kira. My mom's name is Carrie Ann, so I get called Carrie Ann.
I'm Craig. Everything. So we're all in the same boat. I feel your pain. Come here. How long have you been over? When did you travel over to take part in the festival?
So I flew out of JFK in New York City on Thursday night with my mom, and we arrived Friday morning. My nana's from Leitrim, so on the way up to Dungloe, we stopped in Manor Hamilton and got to see all of our cousins.
Oh, wow.
Enjoy the nice Irish food and really spend time together and catch up, and it was honestly so nice.
Your future, your hopes in teaching as well?
I'm
Or
currently
in
a
teaching?
teacher,
Okay,
yep.
excellent. Tell us what kind of work are you doing?
Yep, so I'm a second grade, so in America, second grade, the children would be around 7 or 8.
Mhm.
So I teach special education. So I teach in the Bronx, in Woodlawn, where I'm from.
And you're another person who loves to travel as well.
Yeah, I've actually studied in Galway for a semester, and I was actually involved in Best Buddies, which really carried on my interest of teaching students with disabilities. It's a program at NUIG that works with students with disabilities and people in the community that have disabilities. So that was awesome, and it really reassured me that I was going down the right path. And I've traveled to Ireland, I've traveled to Spain, Italy, and I have future plans for traveling in the next year.
Brilliant. Excellent. And you're also a big sporting person as well.
Yep, so I grew up playing Irish football, and I'm currently involved in our St. Bridget's Club. I'm the vice chairperson, and in New York we have Gaelic for Girls, which serves about 600 players with the different clubs in New York, and I'm the secretary for Gaelic for Girls.
Excellent, brilliant stuff. And our last Mary to speak to today is the London Mary, Erin Doohan. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. How are you getting on?
Great, I'm happy to be here.
It's great to have you with us. You are a Year 2 teacher at St. Augustine's. That's my second name, believe it or not, Augustine. I don't really often admit it, but now it seems like a good time. Currently a Year 2 teacher at St. Augustine's Catholic Primary School in Hammersmith in London.
Yeah.
What's life like there for you?
Yeah, absolutely love London. I was actually born in London back in 1998, but then moved back home to Chrysler when I was under the year. But then 2 years ago, I decided to move to London just to pursue my teaching career.
Yeah, and how do you find it? It's a big change in life, isn't it? I mean, that's is that a sort of a city school that you're in, is it? Or it's on the suburbs?
It is in West London, so Hammersmith is quite central, but my school is quite a small school. It's a one-form entry, which means there's one class for every year group.
And you're really quietly spoken, so can you move forward a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a one-form entry school, and that means that there's one class for every year group. It has a big Catholic, Irish community as well, so a lot of the staff are from Derry and Tipperary. And
And big wait lists to get into the school, I'd imagine, too.
Not as much as it used to be now because of Brexit. A lot of I suppose, Catholic nationalities like Italians and French people, they seem to have moved back to their home countries now.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Right, okay. What do you do over there as well as that? I mean, you're into your sports. Do you like traditional music? Do you play traditional music? Or going to the gym is really, I suppose, I call that a sport.
Yeah, I'm really into like my health and my fitness. So I like to go to the gym and spending time with friends, mostly. Like teaching over there is quite a busy career. The days are a lot longer compared to here, maybe in Donegal. So just
Have you spoken to the Dubai Mary, have you?
Yeah. Okay. No, she's really recommended Dubai to me, so it has put the idea in my head.
I think so, right? Yeah, the way she's talking about it. Okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, whichever way, it's all about growth, isn't it? Your experience in life here, London, and who's to say what's in front of you.
Yeah,
and why did you decide to get involved, or who roped you in? It's normally one or other in the festival.
Well, I'm from Creaseless, so Dungloe's only really over the road anyway, to be honest. So every year I went over with my family and my cousins and all that. So Caitlin Finn, she actually reached out to me and said, would you be interested in entering? And I said, yeah, sure, I may as well. Like, it's a bit of crack.
Excellent stuff. All right. Well, listen, enjoy it. I'm sure you would all enjoy it. It's been great so far by everyone's testimony. What he's doing after this, Kiara, do you know?
Yep. So
where are you
we're
going next?
Heading to Letterkenny Shopping Centre to say
Pick
hello
up a few bits?
Yeah. I'll have to check in another carry-on. But we are going to Letterkenny Shopping Centre to thank the sponsors.
Brilliant. You'll be well looked after down there, don't you know?
Can't wait.
Excellent stuff. All right. And Caitlin, the highlight for you so far?
The highlight for me was actually last night. We went back to the Bridge Inn and Daniel was singing and we just got to, dance and jive with a lot of the locals and it was actually just so lovely to, I love Daniel now, I must say.
Yeah, he has that way with him, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Even if you're not a fan, you just meet him and then that's it. It's all done and dusted.
I know. He's quite charming, so he is.
As well as for someone who is he's quite literally an international superstar. Playing all over the world, and yet he's just there in his own neck of the woods supporting something that's important to him. I think it's lovely. Okay, Aaron, Kiara, Danielle, Caitlin, best of luck to all of you. Thank you so much, along with all of the others who called in. It's been wonderful having you in here with us, and enjoy the rest of it and enjoy the weekend and all. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, back with more shortly.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Do your little ones have jam-packed schedules? Kit them out at Dunnes Stores with a uniform that can keep up. Get joggers that will survive PE on the muddy pitches from just €5. And sweatshirts that will breeze through messy art projects from just €3.75. Pick up a comfy knitted school jumper from just €3.75 and a 3-pack of playproof polos from just €5. Back to school at Dunnes Stores for little ones with big schedules. Shop in-store and online now. Terms and conditions apply.
Guess what the family specials are every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at Larkins of New Mills. They're 2 courses for 2 adults and 2 children for just $49.95. Choose from extensive adults and children's menus, and it's only €6 per extra child. Great family specials every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at Larkins of New Mills. To book, call 9126697.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 Till Noon show. Thanks again to all of the Marys for calling in and for that being facilitated as well by the organisers. I really appreciate it. Right, let me see. We're going to say hello now to Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. Thanks for joining us on the programme again, I believe. How are you keeping?
Hi, Greg. How's it going? Yeah, we're doing not so bad. Feeling a wee bit back at square one, in terms of our topic.
Yeah, talk to us about where you're at now and sort of the history of the water supply, Kathleen.
Okay, well, to say that it's a bit coincidental, Greg, this time last year was actually when it occurred before.
Yeah.
We're based here in the Minacrosh area of Dungloe, just outside Dungloe, and our group water scheme has been affected. It's the 11 Macra Ward group water scheme. So basically, we've been told again second-hand information. I became aware of it yesterday afternoon when a Facebook post popped up from a local community centre to tell us that it was affecting our water supply. Now, I was aware that there was a discoloration in the water over the previous week or so, and had checked with Irish Water yesterday, and they had said that there was nothing, there was no issues, and then disappeared. Now, what seems to be the case is they're saying operational issues at the treatment plant again, which was what was said last year, which is very vague. And basically, last year we were given no information similar. You have to go looking for it, which is really disappointing in this day and age. Irish Water have taken over the looking after of our water service, and to say it's disappointing would be an understatement. We never find out any information. We're the last to know, and then I'm sitting here with a family of 4, a young baby, where I'm reliant on water for making formula bottles and whatnot. Yeah. And, if I wasn't paying attention to social media or to Possible, I think someone said to me yesterday evening that they may have put it on the radio. I didn't hear it. But if I wasn't paying attention, I'd be feeding my new baby, 8-week-old baby, with this water.
It's scary, and I think when they talk about social media too, I think it's Twitter, and it's not really that clear. You'd have to constantly be checking it. It's not like Facebook where it sort of pops into your timeline or whatever. Maybe they are on Facebook as well. I haven't seen them, but it really is a worry, especially even if you had a vulnerable adult at home who was just recovering from something in hospital. Whereby picking up something or some sort of a bug or whatever it might be, really could have quite serious implications. As bad as the Boyle notice is, the communication is something I think that really needs looking at, Kathleen. Is that really what you're saying?
Absolutely. The communication is huge. And like last year, we were told, it would be a short-term situation. I spoke to you mid-September last year, which is quite worrying for me to think 6 weeks out from now that I could be coming back to you, talking to you again, and what, is a time where, it's a basic necessity in life with water, and as you said, the communication is very, very poor. We never had this problem when Donegal County Council were looking after the water.
And as you say, operational difficulties, that seems to be a phrase that's coming into regular use now by Irish Water. Operational difficulties, what does that mean? I think the public deserve to know.
Absolutely. If you ask me, it's just a basic, trademark reply in terms of, it covers all areas so that we don't actually have to tell the people what the problem is. It's summertime. The kids are off on holidays. More water is being used. I'm nearly like a guard in relation to kids going near the tap in my house to make sure that they're not drinking it.
Thing, Kathleen, these boil water notices were bad enough, but the price of boiling a kettle now, I'm sorry, to service everybody's drinking water needs, it's not cheap. Do you know what I mean? Like it is a factor now. Boiling kettles, like that's just the reality of it.
It is a factor. And even last night when I was boiling the kettles for my baby's bottle, I'm not happy with the colour of the water after boiling. To be honest with you.
I get you. I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm having to buy the water on top of the actual price of boiling it, because you have to boil the bottled water as well, Greg.
Yeah, of course.
And they actually give that guidance on the issuing of the notice that they put out, Irish Water, that even if you buy bottled water, you have to boil it as well. So it's a double whammy in terms of price.
Yeah. How old's the baby, Kathleen?
She's 8 weeks old.
Oh,
Greg.
My word. Right, okay. As if you had enough to be worried about without having to worry about the water.
She's brand spanking new, and then I've been landed with this. But sure, do you know what? You get on with it. But it's just, it's disappointing in this day and age that 100%. We are being subjected to this type of carry on.
That you have to go public on it, that you have to be an advocate for you and the community and your family.
And it's the second time in less than a year, Greg, that I've had to go public, which is the worrying part.
Right, we kind of got a general, response from Ishgare, and it adds nothing to it, unfortunately. We're going to stay on top of it and see if we can get some sort of a timeline for that water returning. As you say, even with boiling, if it's discoloured, you're not going to use the water either.
You're not going to be using it, Greg.
All right.
Absolutely not.
Kathleen, we're going to pursue that. Thanks so much indeed. Best wishes to you and the family. The notice is arising out of, according to Irish Water, operational difficulties at the Leitrimach Ward water treatment plant. It's been put in place to protect the health of customers in the Leitrimach Ward, Portnew, Rossbeg, Cleangort, Duchery, Mina Cross, Dewey, Glenties Road, Mahry, Innisfree, Upper Island and Falmore areas. And as I say, you know, Kathleen, if it was on the radio, she didn't hear it. And also, as I say, you can sign up, and it's worth signing up to Ishka Aaron for the direct messaging. I did. It comes through in emails, but it's not going to catch everyone either, because not everyone uses systems like that. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the programme today.